Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Deepest Law Adam Curtis review. And there's quite a few interesting things to discuss before we get to Adam Curtis today. Not actually related to Curtis, but before I introduce the panel, first of all, of course, international superstar Nick Dixon. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Let's finish this thing. When I signed up, I thought this would be quite a short series, but this was a fantasy. That's all I can say. But good to be here.
Simon, how are you doing this week?
It's great to be here with Nick Dixon from TV, on loan internationally from GB Milan. And,
he's just trying to be nice because someone put a nasty tweet saying the banter is not relevant and we should listen to Simon more, even though on the last episode I didn't speak for about 2 hours and it was all Simon. But you can't please these people. I give up hours of my time. Hours and hours.
There. It was a perfectly
I broke it immediately.
Never mind. Nice to be here.
I got angry just before the stream, and it's I won't let it ruin the stream though.
Also joining us is Horace. How you doing, Horace?
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here for either the banter or the proper stuff.
Wouldn't it be amazing if we had a heel turn from like a face, like in wrestling? Sometimes they used to do a double turn, where one person would turn heel and the other person would turn face, like on the same card. I wonder if there's a way to Dixon can turn heel and Horace can turn face, but we'll see.
Am I still a heel?
Some people think I already was heel, so it's quite hard to tell.
I've lost track of what I am. Yeah.
I'm
like the ultimate heel warrior. From day one, Horace.
I don't know about that. All right. Yeah, I embrace it. All right.
Yeah. Fake reality.
Could I be one of those sort of lovable semi-heels like Jake the Snake?
A tweener is what they call them in the biz, a tweener.
But I'm not really like that, am I? I'm just too naturally good.
Too much. Yeah, I see what he's doing. Before we get going here, I do have a bit of an update on my attempts to get compost up to 60 degrees. I mean, I'm trying to do it as the weather's turned, which is stupid, really, because it's raining and it's freezing here as well. But I bought 4 cabbages last night, purely to get them into the compost. I even took a picture of the cabbages with a bit of actual dialogue that happened. This is actual my family dialogue where my daughter was like, if you put 4 cabbages in the compost, they will be wasted. And then the missus was saying, come on, make a soup or something. And I was like, nope. Here's to kickstart it. Now, composting fans, why do I need all that cabbage? The heat is generated by nitrogen, which is in the greens. So I thought if I put a lot of cabbage in a couple of days, it will release nitrogen, helping to get the temperature up to the requisite 60 degrees. I've got a lot of browns from the garden waste that I've been shredding with my Super Shredder 2400, but I'm still languishing. It's still less than 30. So, yeah.
Now, I'm not a composting expert. We did have it because I'm from the country, but why couldn't you have just left them in the ground? Like, in a way, haven't you just got the lettuces and pointlessly put them back into the earth where they were anyway? Like, you haven't even, and as your family say, you haven't even eaten them. So what was the whole point of any of it?
Well, I want to turn a bunch of garden waste into compost, but I need to speed up the process. So I'm artificially speeding it up by buying, I guess you could call them ringer cabbages. They're not even like proper waste. I'm just buying cabbages and putting them in the compost.
The cabbages are the mere enzyme, and they're just a tool in your larger darker goals.
I also shredded some paper for the express purpose of getting up the temperature this morning. And there's also a little Kickstarter bottle where you basically put the kettle on and then put in a bottle of boiling water to help the temperature get up as well. But I checked it before we came on air, and as things stand, it's on something like 26. I need to get up to 60. So it's not
60 seems very challenging. I mean, why don't you just buy a washing machine and put them in on a 60 cycle, or all the bits and pieces? That might be the cheaper way of doing it.
Can I just say, I know it's your channel, but I can never be accused of irrelevant banter if we're going to talk about cabbages. Do you know what I mean? That's surely the ultimate. By the way, Leopard says AA, Horus, and Simon are heels against the one baby face Nick. I actually agree with that.
I mean, I also want to come to my last final plea for a big club, by which I mean not Benfica, to come in for Jose. Why don't Manchester United sack that doofus and get in Jose, or even Chelsea?
Well, one, I think Emery. I think he's rumored to be have Benfica as a backup option. Benfica actually shows some interest in him. He could go there. But I know what you mean about Jose. The thing about Jose is Ferguson wouldn't let him in, would he? After him, had he have done that, it could have been a smooth transition of power, and we might still be in a much better position today, because Jose did famously get second with a really crap team. And he's got our best percentage, I think, of any manager since Ferguson, win percentage. So
yeah,
why?
It's pretty amazing. Way better than Solskjaer. So
should have put him straight in.
Do you mean 60 Fahrenheit? You mean, right?
No, Celsius.
60 Celsius. That's really really warm. That's like
it needs to be smoking hot in the hot bin to kill the weed seeds, which is the whole purpose of doing this in the first. It's become like a kind of scientific obsession with me. But I'm wondering if it's just kind of like a con, whether it's just actually impossible to get it that hot. So
we did compost when I was a kid, but it was putting stuff in a wheelbarrow, then putting it in a green bin. This seems a lot more advanced.
Well, I mean, the hot bin, if you can imagine, it's got polystyrene. Well, it's like a kind of
imagine.
It's like a kind of polystyrene walls that insulate the heat, trap it in, and basically bounce it back to make sure that it's almost like a kind of greenhouse in there. The heat can't get out. So that's there's a little valve at the top to let a bit of air out, so it doesn't get so it's meant to get really hot.
You need a worm farm. That's what my friends use for making compost as well.
Is this your bid to be more and more like your hero, Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, I actually made an anti-Corbyn video today.
Oh, no.
Called it was called what?
Oh, immigration. Yeah, I was about to listen to it, but I had to do this.
We could have held off. We could have delayed this for a bit.
I get the basic premise, though. The left are foolish because immigration, that actually causes a lot of the problems with the market that they don't want.
Well, I mean, the basic idea of that video is that the reason that the left turned on the working class and pro-immigration, siding with capital and big business against Labour, is simply because the working class have never been to their taste. They've always been a disappointment to the kind of intellectual bougie types who just like Jeremy Corbyn and his mates, who just find the working class, their rough justice, their small c conservatism, their kind of natural reactionary
patriotism
mode. They just find it distasteful,
Yeah, they've always hated that they're not a revolutionary force, and they've just now decided to pretend they don't exist. And you see people like Richard Bergen, MP, moron, saying, "Oh, the far right are on the streets. We're about to have our first far right extremist government." He means reform, by the way, lol. And what are the chances, right, that the average British person that you've just described, the sort of Lao Beijing is a Chinese term, isn't it? The sort of ordinary person has just disappeared. They've all disappeared. The small c conservative patriots. They've all just disappeared, right? The people that fought the war, etc., both 2 wars, they've gone, and they've just been replaced by hundreds of thousands of far-right people on the street. I mean, does anyone actually believe that?
Yeah. So when the people they're calling far-right, rewind back to, I got a video tomorrow coming on about, which is called "Get This for Slop" title, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
what James O'Brien gets wrong about Enoch Powell.
Brackets and why it matters.
But I mean, it's basically the exact same. You know, the unions back in the 60s and the 70s are the exact people who are on the streets for Tommy on the weekend. It's just the same people.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, in your video, you mentioned John Landsman, didn't you? You know, I mean, Corbyn's a fairly comfy background, but John Landsman is seriously rich.
is he really? I don't know anything about John Landsman. I mean, I love it so much. I'll play the clip again. Hold on, so people know what we're talking about. One of my favorite clips ever is this. I'll play it here for the benefit of the conversation.
I live in London. I live in Yorkshire. I live in a working class community. And I've known John for many years. John's been around, from the Bennite days. And I'm afraid the working classes have always been a big disappointment for John and his cult. Corbyn was a disaster on the doorstep. Everyone knew that he couldn't lead the working class out of a paper bag. Now John's developed this momentum group, this party within a party, aiming to keep the purity. The culture of betrayal goes on. You'll hear it now more and more over the next couple of days as this little cult get their act together. I want them out of the party. I want momentum gone. Go back to your student politics and your little, left-wing...
But that isn't realistically going to happen, is it?
Well, I'm just saying,
I don't know.
I'm saying what I want.
Yeah.
Saying what I want after, if that exit poll's wrong, the most disastrous result for the Labour Party, the worst result since 1935. People like John and his pals will never admit this, but they have messed up completely, and it's.
I love that clip. I've never seen a guy so bang to rights there, but he's right. Johnson's right, and he comes from a proper union background. Alan Johnson does so.
Yeah, I watched that at the time. I love it. And I particularly love the shot of Ed Balls and Osborne looking like they're on the front of the Titanic or whatever, just looking longingly across.
Yeah, they're sort of nodding away, like, yeah, he's a proper at that one. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't know that about Landsman, or it kind of makes sense, I guess.
He founded the before Momentum. Obviously, Momentum was sort of the thing to get Corbyn into the leadership. Before that, in the 80s, there was the Campaign for Labour Party Democracy or something, and it was to get all power basically to the constituency parties to select candidates, knowing that like him and Corbyn at the time and Ben and like all the Bennites at the time, early 80s, they knew that the constituency parties could be or already were controlled by the hard left of the party. I mean, they were called Trotskyists. They weren't all Trotskyists, but like hardline leftists. And it failed, but they got pretty damn close. And that it would have. I mean, Gerald Kaufman called it like an attempt to make it a Stalinist party. It's a bit over the top, but it would have been a proper state socialist, top-down, hard left party. But they narrowly failed at that. But yeah, he then came back, in 2015 and created Momentum. He basically, it was his company. Momentum was a company owned by John Landsman. Yeah.
What I argued in this video was that there was always a disconnect between these sorts of people and the actual working class. And in fact, I spent a week with my mother, and then I went back to work. But she was telling me all these stories of what used to actually happen, like in the valleys, where these sorts of people would try it on in a Labour councillor or whatever, and they'd have a brick through the window, or they'd be like, they didn't care back in those days. They'd be like, yeah, well, just and she told me one story about there was a pub where there was an entire stuffed crocodile. They took that crocodile and they chucked it through this woman. They literally broke the window, left the crocodile right in her front room, and she had to leave the area because she claimed to be traumatized or whatever. But it's just like that's what things were like back then.
And you don't mean like a big cuddly toy crocodile. You mean a taxidermy?
No, like an actual stuffed crocodile. And then they returned it to the pub, obviously.
Valley Justice.
Yeah, I mean, they called it rough justice back in the day, but it didn't really. Like, what I'm saying is, though, that was the actual relationship between a lot of these kind of petty officials and the actual locals who had their own codes. So it's very much actually reminds me of the dynamics at school. Right? If you remember at school, there was the kind of the schoolyard code, right, where you don't snitch, and you don't, there's a kind of schoolyard justice, and then there was the teacher's justice, and all of the kids, if you were cool, if you were kind of on the level type thing, had a code amongst themselves as against the teacher's code, and those kids who sided with the teachers, obviously, were game for ostracization or whatever. Very, very similar dynamics were at play back then, and that was how they used to keep those communities, like, they used to talk about spontaneous order, classical liberals, but this is actually what it was. I mean, my mother told me this one story about this woman who was dancing in a pub a bit frivolously, and this man, direct quote, grabbed her by the toilets. That man was banned from every single pub in something like a 20-mile radius. Nobody would talk to him for the rest of his life, basically, and like until the day he died. Everybody would like look away if they saw him at a bus stop or whatever, and he'd have to he had to go like 20 miles to a pub where nobody knew him if he wanted to have a pint.
Did he get the crocodile as well?
He didn't get the crocodile, but
sleeping with the crocodiles.
He did get cold ostracized literally for like 30 plus years for that incident. And what I'm saying is that is how things were, not just in Wales, but in many working class areas. People just kind of took things into their own hands. So there was a limit to what they could get away with. And all of that has been kind of managed out by the health and safety state, isn't it? You can't do anything.
Folk memory, isn't it?
Well, for a second when he said grabbed her by the toilets, I thought toilets was like a euphemism for a certain body part, but I got it now. That stuff's not completely gone away, though, because with the Epping protest, do you think it's actually sort of coming back a little bit? It's saying, actually, no, you put these people in our area, we will mess you up.
The Epping protest is a glimmer of it, but notice how quickly the police were there. Like back in those days, there was a lot of, how can I say, like, everybody would know everybody. They'd know the local they'd know the local Bobby. You'd know the characters were. You know what I mean? Whereas now, people don't even know each other. Right. Like, you don't even know your neighbours. Let alone knowing that, him in number 80 is a bit funny and all that sort of stuff. Like, nobody knows anyone.
In my village, we knew absolutely everyone. And you're right about the schoolyard code as well. I just had a memory suddenly of a lad when I was about 8 trying to put a pin on my chair, like a drawing pin. And I wouldn't grass him up, but the teacher saw it and she was saying, this is terrible. And I still wouldn't grass him up, even though I'd put a pin on my chest. You're absolutely right. Never grass. Though that seems to have gone as well. At GB News, I got grassed up by some people for like just telling too much truth. But I can't go into the whole story. But people grass now, well, women especially.
Well, it's social capital now, isn't it, to do that?
Yeah.
I wonder, has that changed in school as well? Is the old schoolyard code gone, or does it still exist?
Yeah, because it's all that Me Too stuff. Like, if I speak to people who have kids, who are like friends of mine who have kids, like maybe in their teens or 20s or something, early 20s, remember when there was the Me Too thing, they were just grassing up their mates all the time. I'm not saying you should assault people, obviously, but for very minor things, they were grassing up mates and like turning on them and stuff. It was this weird kind of, I think all that's been ruined by the culture.
One thing I want to mention just before we get to Curtis here, it's a bit of rank punditry, but I really do think this would benefit from the critical eye of the panel, and that is, regardless of what you think about the who done it on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the FBI have released an extraordinary document showing a text conversation between what's his name? Is it Kyle Robinson? Tyler Robinson and the Troon, I believe, right?
It just says roommate.
Just says roommate, but I assume this is, from the way they're talking, is that now I did a mock-up of this, which is not a million miles away from what it actually, like, gee whiz, by golly, I had the jitters there for a moment. But now I'm with you, I just feel swell. I thought it'd be funny to have the Troon as a kind of 1960s surf dude, wipe out. But it really, I mean, if you watch this, if you read this document, right, let me just read you, right, what this is meant to have said. I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am sorry. I thought they caught the person. I remember listening to Mark Lamar film reviews like back in the day, Simon, and he used to call dialogue like this: Basil plot exposition. That's what he'd call it. Like, right? Let's just see how this goes. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have I have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about finding it. How long have you been planning this? Oh, a bit over a week. I believe I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Remember how I was engraving those bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge ooh on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. That really fucking sucks. Judging from today, I say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. Blah, blah, blah. So right, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is the deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you, says the troon. I mean, come on, guys. Come on.
But there's two obvious ways, though, that could be fabricated, right? There's the authorities fabricating it, but then there's those two fabricating it themselves. So which one are you saying?
Well, I mean, this guy on Twitter, this Murray guy, summed it up pretty well. He says, I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I have a really hard time believing in a short exchange, the alleged shooter makes his confession, confirms the location of the weapon, confirms the type of the weapon, confirms it was wrapped in a towel, confirms his motive, exonerates the decoy, which was George Zinn, admits to the bullet engravings, confirms the wardrobe change, confirms how long he's been planning it, discloses the existence and location of a now destroyed pre-written confession note, randomly tells his boyfriend that his dad is a diehard MAGA, and is worried about his damn grandpa being accepted if he doesn't come home with a rifle. So, I mean, it does stretch credulity a little bit, I would say.
And when he was arrested, he said, "Cuff away, officer. It's a fair cop, gov. I'm a wrong 'un and no mistake."
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But could they have concocted it to exonerate the roommate? That's just the only other option, isn't it? But yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I mean, even if you take the logic of the thing, right? Oh, I'm really worried about this rifle. But also, do you remember when I spent all that time engraving the bullet?
That's the most ridiculous bit. Yeah.
Like the bloody Riddler leaving clues as to who I am. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, it seemed extraneous at the time. Yeah, to quote Wayne's World. Yeah,
but also the roommate didn't know about it, but did know about the bullet engravings. You wouldn't be like, "What are you engraving those bullets for, mate?"
That's
you know.
Absurd. But you know what? There's also an overconfidence from people who definitely. We know that Charlie. I mean, God rest his soul, it had some problems with donors and stuff at the end, but there's also an overconfidence of the conspiracy people. One guy I saw saying, do you really think the Fae pronoun people from TikTok can do this? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, they're men, these sort of trans type people, or this guy's actually a man. They're mentally ill. They've got guns. They can weapons trade in America. Some of them are known for having high testosterone. It's not, and you don't have to be some alpha to shoot someone from that distance. So the argument that it couldn't be a troon or troon adjacent person doesn't really stack up either. It could be. I'm not saying either way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to draw any conclusions personally, but I mean, I think that note was so bad that it has taken people who were previously just convinced of the official story and has made a pile of people go like, "What the fuck was that? What was that?"
But on this and September 11th and the murder of John Kennedy, you do accept the official story, obviously, right? You're not.
I accept the official
disputing-
story on previous things, but on this one, I think
Ah,
there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of
Okay.
questions, and what I'm saying at this moment is that as this stuff is coming out, I mean, as Nick says, nobody has any need for confident to take them, right? I mean, I just don't see how anybody is like, oh yeah, absolutely, the official story is true, or even vice versa. Absolutely, it's these people over. I just don't know how people can be so cocksure. When faced with a situation like this where there are so many unanswered questions and there's stuff coming out in real time like this, so
It does read like a Gen X's idea of how young people text each other. I mean, when I came into this space originally on Twitter and into the YouTube sort of space, I was the Steve Buscemi meme, how do you do, fellow kids? You took time to sort of pick up the lingo and all of that stuff. But this is pretty bad.
Yeah, the only bit of actual Zoomer lingo was the engraving, ooh woo, the ooh woo bit. That was the only bit of recognizable kind of Zoomer exchange. So,
although it was Awu in the original, wasn't it? With an O, not a U. I don't know if that matters, but yeah, it's like you say about the confidence, but it's people also using their frame that they use for everything. So the people I've seen saying, for example, Delling Pole says the whole thing's fake. Well, he says that about everything. This guy Bob said, well, of course it's not this, but he always goes for the conspiracy. So I just think people should be reluctant to impose that the frame that they use for everything and just try and be objective. But yeah, maybe I'm dreaming.
One extremely interesting aspect of this is that people are not breaking along exactly lines that you'd expect. I have noticed a little pattern. Well, let me tell you the pattern here that I've noticed. Okay. I'm here with my cigar. This is me being Columbo. My mate, Dickie Spencer, Nick Fuentes, Stryker, have all independently arrived at exactly the same position, which is
that is unusual. That is very strange.
Right, exactly the same position, which is that categorically it cannot be Israel, right?
Huh?
Yeah. Categorically, all three of them have ruled out it being that.
Can't be.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What's that about?
Yeah. No. They all dropped monologues on exactly this yesterday before this thing came out, and they all came out in unison and said, actually, it's a Russian op to get you to think that it's Israel. And Candace Owens, Tucker, and that. So do you remember there was that pre-existing split between Fuentes and Tucker and that whole thing that was going on before? Now I've noticed that I'm just noticing these little things, like what are the odds that all these people come to that conclusion at the same time? And then, like you said, Nick, a lot of people who are in that kind of Russia adjacent sphere are heavily pushing that, like Jackson Hinkle, for example, is pushing the idea it was Israel. And then, of course, a lot of the MAGA crowd are kind of motivated in a way to just believe the official story, because it's almost like it's red meat designed to appeal exactly to their culture war. So I just find it really interesting that people just are coming out on these sorts of lines, and they're splitting in interesting ways.
Did you see Akkad Daily is trolling you in the chat? It says previous things were all true, but this one.
Could I just add something to that? Nick Fuentes seems to have said something else. Like, I was watching Kim Iverson just before we came on. Do you know Kim Iverson? Does anyone watch her?
No.
She's like half Vietnamese, half Danish or something, but she's from Idaho and she's a Mormon. Just to make it all complicated. Anyway, she's what I always thought she was like a leftist channel, but she does give quite a lot of credence to the right. She seems to like Nick Fuentes, who I don't really, but like she posted a clip of him saying that Bill Ackman offered a $1.2 million reward to whoever grassed this guy up, and the person who that reward will go to, as it stands, is the boy's father. I think she was implying that, like, perhaps it's some sort of setup, but I think that's wrong because
I've seen plenty of clips of Nick basically shouting at people for saying like, "Don't be a conspiratard."
Yeah.
Not everything's Israel. Charlie Kirk was a massive Israel defender.
But obviously, Bill Ackman does stand for Israel. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like if he's saying that, he kind of is pointing the finger at Israel now. But obviously, this guy, the murderer, faces potential execution, right? So you wouldn't think that $1.2 million reward to the father is going to get past that. You know, it's like. So I don't know if that theory makes any sense, but I just noticed that, like, you know, that is consistent with Israel, given that it's Bill Ackman.
There's increasing evidence that he was Charlie definitely not wanting to be totally pro-Israel and was trying to say, look, guys, we need to be more realistic on this. You're losing all the young people. Seems to be a lot of evidence of that. Did you also watch Tucker's monologue yesterday? It was
no, I haven't seen that one yet.
He just did it was so good. He just did 40 minutes, just blistering stuff. And was a great bit on Bill Ackman where he just said, how is Bill Ackman so rich? He's not intelligent. He's not creative. He's just aggressive and just stupid. It was just like absolutely brutal. It was just brutal. It was, worth watching.
So is Tucker saying it was them? Or pointing that way?
No, but he is saying, he's not saying that, but he is saying Charlie had definitely gone off Israel to an extent, and he was fierce about, I'm not going to have Netanyahu use Charlie's name to further his own agenda, because Charlie hated Netanyahu, he said, and he hated that agenda. And although he was sort of broadly pro-Israel, that's not the same thing as the Netanyahu agenda. So Tucker was furious with Netanyahu.
Tell you what, it's like watching The Godfather, innit? So many moving, or Godfather Part 2 even. So many moving parts. Was it Hyman Roth? You know, was it somebody else? Oh, so exciting. Anyway, we're going to be talking about hypernormalization in a way, Simon. You know, without disparaging the actual death of Charlie Kirk, it has become yet another hypernormal event, hasn't it?
Totally, yeah. There's an article I'll post later. I may talk a little bit about it, about the notion of Russian involvement through something called the Internet Research Agency, which Surkov seems to have influenced to some degree. I know there's always been a bit of a pushback on the idea of Russian disinformation and manipulation in this sphere, but there's elements which may be of interest there as well.
There's something else as well. Did anybody watch the Sam Hyde bit? I watched that. I was kind of riveted watching that, but I was watching that thinking, like, this teeters on the brink of, like, was this performance art? I don't know how to take Sam Hyde. It's like, there's at points he was crying, at other points he launched into like a little bit of an anti-Israel bit, and another bit, like, I didn't know where he was coming or going with him. Maybe it's that Zuma humor I don't get or whatever, but that was mesmerizing. The Sam Hyde bit was mesmerizing. If anybody watched that?
Yeah, I didn't watch it all. I watched the start, which I thought was very, very powerful, when he's saying, "This is you," and he's absolutely right. I mean, this is what they want to do to you, right? It seems that way, doesn't it? Conspiracies aside, they're not shy about wanting to kill you. Let's be honest.
Well, this is the other aspect, which is that even if the left have certainly claimed it, haven't they? They've certainly played their bit in the psychodrama. They've been happy to jump up and down and celebrate and just say wildly inappropriate things. That Hassan Piker stuff that Sam Hyde was playing, I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Well, there's us. We've spent the past decade being so careful about what we say on here. And there he is, just like outright like what we call Fed posting on main, just without any care in the world for consequences at all.
Destiny as well.
It's crazy. It's mental. The disparity.
Destiny's been reported to the FBI for that stuff as well. Have you seen some of his? He does exactly the same thing. I won't repeat what he says, but he just basically says to get them how they should all be afraid, and you should get them basically. And people have reported him. It's extraordinary.
It's awful. Well, anyway, I've done my bit trying to get. Many people have reported Lewis Goodall to Ofcom for his part in it.
Shameful.
I know it's a kind of a slightly more kind of Marks and Spencer's version, but I have been incensed by Lewis Goodall this week. Just the way that he, like, literally the body's not even cold, and he's trying to just downplay it at every turn, but basically, like, desperate to just call him a racist bigot, basically. And what else is he doing if not kind of justifying it?
It's absolutely disgusting. And even Campbell has been forced to apologize. Even Stephen King. Will Lewis Goodall ever apologize?
Well, let's see. I haven't had a reply from global media yet, or from Ofcom, so we'll see what happens. But based on like at least 100, 200 people have done that now, if not more, since I put my video out yesterday. So we'll see. You know, will we get justice? We'll see. I'm going for the full sweep, Nick. I think we're gonna. Not only are we going to win long term, I think in a year's time, hope not hate will be no more.
Oh, they're in trouble. The MP wrote that letter, didn't he? Really good letter saying they need to be shut down. Yeah, they are on thin ice. And whenever Lowell's posts, he is one of the most hated people on Twitter. They're hated just on every single post, and completely justified, by the way. And of course, we're in the club of people they've done hit pieces on. They
blatantly just make things up about you. Like,
they say anything they want.
Up, like stuff I've never said.
Did you see what Kevin Maguire posted as well? I just replied to it with, I never do this, but I replied to it with just loads of lol and clown emojis. He said, rather than getting despondent, which is easy at the moment, we've got to mobilize, we've got to get active. He's quoting Nick Lowell. And he says, the wonderful hope, not hate, inspiring Nick Lowell on how to beat the hard and far right. I just wrote the wonderful hope, not hate with loads of lols, because it's just like, it's who thinks that?
That Maguire is one of the worst journalists I've ever seen. He's a buffoon. He's a moron.
Communist. Yeah.
Quote journalist.
I just want to mention something as well, by the way. I mentioned about the various positions of Spencer, Fuentes, and Stryker. I should note that Stryker has been very anti Fuentes in that whole thing, and he was Team Tucker throughout that whole thing. So I find it kind of interesting where he's departed on this issue, and is now appears to be siding, like he's reaching the same conclusions as. So I don't know what's going on. But clearly, like, there are some people who really want to push the Israel angle, and there are other people who really don't want to push the Israel angle on this one. And I just don't know what to think at the moment.
Well, just to be fair to Fuentes, before all that side kicked off, he was one of the best. I mean, I first found out about it from his tweets, and his original take on it with the tribute he did, I thought was so good. If we're just being fair and objective, because it was so generous. Given, you know, obviously he's had these feuds with him throughout his lifetime, but there was no trace of any malice. It was just like, we're Christians, this was appalling, you know what I mean? Which so much better than you look at that. This is the guy who is supposed to be the most evil guy, right? The poster boy of everything we're supposed to hate, and he can do this magnanimous Christian take, and yet all these lefties who are supposed to be the great people are just savage, demonic evil.
Yeah, I haven't managed to catch up with that yet, because I've had a busy couple of weeks, guys, and also any spare moment I've been composting. So, you know, and my phone ran out of data, which has heavily impacted my ability to listen to stuff. Anyway, let us continue then. Any further comments on this? I mean, my view is with these sorts of stories, we're never going to know the truth. So almost like speculating is, you know, even though it's fun, it's a little bit pointless. I just find it more interesting to map who lands where and why. It's kind of more interesting to me. But
I would just, I went on Iron Duke's show on Saturday. I would just say, like, this sort of just follows in the tradition that the left, and it's not just the far left, is because you see how the soft left condones this stuff, and they all do. I can't think of any exceptions. It just confirms that, like, and it just follows on from a century now of just terrorism. Like, the left just believe in terrorism and just crushing everyone, murdering whoever they feel the need to. And I've, you know, like, hardly anyone on the left has even condemned this murder of a centre-right figure, and it's just completely normal on the left. And I do mean the whole of the left. To support terrorism against your enemies, and they just think it's funny. They think it's great.
I'm so glad you used that word, Horace, because I've been using that word, and Americans have been, but I haven't seen many people in Britain grasp it. What is this if not terrorism? You're at an open-air family event. What is this if not terrorism? And I actually say Oxford University should be prescribed as a terrorist organization, because they have an incoming president of the union who openly encourages political violence, as he said at the union in a debate. But we know it's not an abstract point to him, because when someone he's actually met at the union as a guest actually is killed, he celebrates. So we know it's not abstract. We know he believes in political assassinations. what do Oxford do? They defend him with mealy-mouthed crap about racism and refuse to condemn him or punish him. Therefore, tacitly, they support it. Therefore, why are they not a terrorist supporting organization?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting angry about that Oxford thing. It's so
I agree.
disgusting.
I strongly agree. That's a big part of the problem is at the, who controls the top unis. Like, I mean, yeah, for sure.
Can I just mention one other really weird detail? The old guy who was arrested, right? George Zinn. It's now come out like that he's admitted that he just acted instinctively to create a distraction. What sort of instinct is that? Like, who has it, right? If you were there, right, would your instinct, if the speaker on stage was shot, would be to create a distraction so the killer gets away? That is a bizarre thing to say. But
it is actually plausible for how they think. It's also plausible it was organized because there are rumors that there was loads of people talking about this the day before and things, and then there's lots of coordination on certain networks. But it's also possible these people are so sick. It's actually possible that is because if you look at all the reaction, why wouldn't they do that?
I think it's like when Peter Hitchens, he's always emphasizing saying, you don't know what you're up against. You're talking about trained Marxists. So this guy has like a conditioned reflex, almost, someone who's completely imbibed Saul Alinsky. And they have this distributed consciousness when they're at these events. If something can be taken advantage of, they kind of can snap into the mode whereby they can use that energy, like in this case, deflect from what's happened to just give the guy, the shooter time to escape, as I think Zinn said.
Yeah, and he also was maybe pretty demented as a person. We've heard he's had some very sick things on his phone, so the guy is probably just a really dark creep as well, obviously.
Two questions about him as well. Is he related to Howard Zinn, and was his granddad at Cable Street?
I have no idea who this old man is, but apparently he's been around a long time. So he's been an activist for a very long time.
Well, that backs up what Simon says.
Also, before we move on, did you see that Kash Patel gave an announcement in a Liverpool FC tie? Nick,
I missed that. That is divisive.
This is bizarre, right? There's Kash Patel. People have zoomed in, and it is literally a Liverpool FC tie. Now, that may not be an accident because Hillsborough's been back in the news recently.
Yeah,
I think Andy Burnham has been running on getting justice for Hillsborough, and is one of the ways that Starmer's being flanked. So I don't know if that's like a tacit "we're out to get you, Starmer" or something, but that's kind of weird.
Oh wow, that's funny. Yeah, I think we need to know why the Trump administration is against Man United and Everton, and we need answers.
It's because of that pink kit that Everton had years ago, the salmon pink second kit they had.
Makes
or
sense.
it could be more straightforward that
Trump likes winners.
This is a man of South Asian distractions, so of course he's a Liverpool fan.
Oh, I was thinking just Trump likes winners. Liverpool, great team. They're top. They're winning a lot. We love Liverpool. You know what I mean? The next year, it's like Manchester City.
Have you ever, speaking of schizo theories, have you ever seen like the Q school of Trump tieology, that the color of Trump's tie dictates certain, like, it gives coded messages to,
like the purple tie when he was elected, bringing the two sides together, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Not really. although I have been reading two of Delingpole's favorite authors recently on Substack, and
David Icke.
Not David, Gareth Icke. I've been watching some of his shows, but I can't remember the name of the.
Is it Miri AF by any chance?
One of them, Miri AF is a bit more schizo than the other one. I find that Miri AF is very much of the school that like literally everything is fake.
Yeah.
The other one, who I thought was more a kind of slightly more thoughtful writer, was something information?
Is it Thinking Coalition?
Thinking Coalition, that's it. Thinking Coalition.
Yeah.
Thinking Coalition, I think, is, if we're going to get into ranking schizos, he's probably like, a creme, like a top tier schizo, as against the Charlie Wards and the kind of alien mans.
Do you know what? I mean, I know you're going School of Schizo now, AA.
I'm
and,
not.
you
I'm
know,
not. I
God bless
can't
you,
do
but-
it.
He's
I
You
can't
are.
do it,
You're
Nick,
going
because
increasingly schizo on several recent issues.
I can't do it, Nick, because as per my schools of the right, okay, which is based on D&D, realism is an opposition school to School of Schizo. So it's like if you would play as a specialist mage in D&D, if you're a necromancer, you can't do divination, right? And it's exactly like that. I can't do
Well,
schizo
you
spells.
say that, but I've noticed your heel turn into School of Schizo on several recent issues.
AA is centre left now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just think, see, I've got a problem with the School of Schizo because, I mean, one, I've had friends who I can barely talk to anymore because they're so schizo. But the other thing is, I'm not some normie like, oh, it's all just what they say. You know, JFK, 9/11, all these things I'll question. But the thing that really bothers me is applying your everything's fake frame. I mean, what a beautiful world that is. Everything's fake. No, there's no pain. No one's real. Charlie Kirk's not even real. And it's also, you lose your humanity that way because then you don't have to grieve for his kids or his wife and so on. It's just all fake. And that's what I can't stand about it.
Yeah, and they do claim literally everything. And this is where I kind of lost patience with that Miri AF guy, Simon. Right, in a post about something else, he just casually drops in, oh yeah, the Ukraine girl was fake as well, by the way. Here's a link, and then you click on the link, and it's some PDF that some other dude has made, showing the difference in the model shots. And it's like, well, you don't really have any evidence for this here,
What a comforting worldview.
Yeah,
you don't have to reckon with evil, except the one evil of the sort of the people who are creating all the fake stuff, I suppose. But you don't have to reckon with like the evil of that guy on the.
That's where I'm trying to remember. There was another situation like that where I got kind of angry with some of these guys as well. Kind of a famous case where some people were killed, some kids. I'm trying to remember what it was now. It was like a year or so ago. And it was like this whole, was it the Manchester Arena, or was it like there's somebody who was actually taken to court for trying to argue that like the entire Manchester Arena thing was fake? I mean, come on.
Oh, Richard D. Hall. Yeah,
come on now. It's like I can't really get on board with that because you're dealing with like people who've actually lost their lives and things like that.
Yeah, he's saying no bomb went off. The victims were made up and stuff. Yeah,
it's like AA's recent Stalinology. You talked about the kind of the mesh of assertions propping each other up.
Yeah, but for everything.
Yeah.
Talking of poor evidence and getting things wrong, can I just give a quick dishonourable mention to Alex Craner again? You remember we did that?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I listened to him the other day, and Israel, like this has just got lost amidst all the news that's happened in the previous, like the subsequent 6 days or whatever. But Israel attacked Qatar. Israel just did an act of war against Qatar just about a week or so ago, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
It's like easy to forget.
Past,
it was like 7 or 8 days ago or something. But and Alex Craner believes that Israel and Qatar are both, as he says, cat's paws of the British or the City of London.
Oh, here we go.
So, and when asked to explain why one of them just attacked the other, his explanation was so ludicrous. I sort of recommend, but also don't recommend you listen to it. But yeah, he's on that Crypto Rich show. Crypto Rich himself just gone completely schizo with that stuff as well. The British, full force of the law. Fucking anyway,
I've actually got evidence that the British control the Americans. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. It came past my timeline just now.
Is it British Bulldog beating up Bret Hart or something?
No,
Bret Hart was Canadian, wasn't he? Sorry,
Bret Hart was Canadian. Yeah, and in fact, they were related, weren't they? Bulldog married into the Hart family, if you recall. I can't. Oh, here we are. I found it. Here's the evidence. Look, there he is. Look, Trump's in town at the moment, and there he is, like surrounded by his bosses.
That is the standard of evidence with these people. Simon, Nick, if you don't know what we're talking about, basically there's a small group of people. They're not that significant, but they assert that the British control everything. And by the British, asking what they mean, they will never fucking say. But the British control America, the British control Israel, Qatar, Europe, everything. The British.
I have heard tell of this, yes.
The empire never ended.
Yeah, all that.
Sweet.
Yeah, all that. Yeah. The bloodlines, the fucking, all that. Awful stuff.
It's a
Awful.
shadow empire.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So bad.
Anyway, 49 minutes in. Do buy courses at the academic agency, and also subscribe to all these good people or follow them on Twitter. Simon and Horace are on Twitter. Nick has got his own YouTube show, and a very good thing it is, the current thing. And let us now watch a bit of Adam Curtis. We might even reach the end today. So here we are.
Yeah. Got about 25 minutes to do, so we go, we can do it.
Because it is indefinable. Meanwhile, real power was
Sorry to stop it already, and everybody's lost their bet who had their money on Horus. I prefer current Putin to young Putin. Just his look and so on. I think he's somebody grew into his own face a bit. I prefer him old than skinny young Putin. Do you guys agree with that?
Right, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
What, like, he looks more Putinish, you're saying? He looks more what he is.
My favorite Putin is really long table Putin. I think that one's hard to beat. Absurdly long table Putin. You know what I mean?
During COVID. But
just talking to you miles and miles away.
He was current Putin then. He was old Putin, not.
No, he was old Putin there, exactly. So I'm giving it. It's more like an addition to your one. It's like, you'd get the Putin figure, but then there'd be like long table edition. You'd be saying long table.
I'm like this with a lot of things. I always think that people grow into themselves.
Yeah.
So like with music artists, I insist that old Bob Dylan is like the Bob Dylan that he was always meant to be, or you have to look at the late work.
Yeah.
Two good examples of Farage, who just looks much better with his grey hair and tan than his younger, sort of slightly snotty look. And look at Tucker as well. He grew out of the silly bow tie phase and now has kind of a rugged American look.
Yeah, it's the Orwell thing, isn't it? By 40, you get the face you deserve. I kind of like that Putin there was sipping the tea. It's the beginning, you can see, of the kind of hooded eye Putin that you have now, where he's kind of slightly bored and he finds it all kind of amusingly tiresome. How the
That's
West
what I was going to
operates.
say. That's why I prefer old Putin, because he's a bit pleased with himself now. He's a bit smug. Like, I prefer old Putin.
This rule goes for basically old Orson Welles is better than young Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Quick
Just actually, it's
tidbit.
good.
Go on.
No, I was going to say it's good that AA paused on this shot. I'm just going to explain this shot actually, because it seems like a random Curtis thing, but again, no, this is curated with an intent. This room that you're going to see here is the St. George Hall in the Grand Kremlin Palace, and part of the Kremlin itself speaks to this idea of the fake reality, because the stuff you see inside. A lot of the furniture is, in fact, most of it is reproduction, because when the French took their little mini break in the Kremlin in 1812, they burned the furniture and they stole all the paintings and the icons. So a lot of the internals of the Kremlin are reconstructed. But then the shot goes on and it looks out to a church. And Curtis at this moment is talking about real power being elsewhere. And the church it looks at is a place called the Church of the Resurrection of Christ in Kadashi in Moscow, just over the way from the Kremlin compound. And it was a sort of interesting example of a Baroque church. But what happened with it is it was eventually closed by the Soviets and used as the KGB archive. So that's where the files were kept.
Interesting.
Literally illustrating.
Kind of scummy behavior of the French to do that, by the way.
They returned stuff later on, apparently, but they were a bit cold, so they burned all the chairs.
elsewhere, hidden away behind the stage, exercised without anyone seeing it.
That place there.
And then the same thing seemed to start happening in the West. By now, it was becoming ever more clear that the system had deep flaws. Every month, there were new revelations of most of the bank's involvement in global corruption, of massive tax avoidance by all the major corporations, of the secret surveillance of everyone's emails by the National Security Agency. Yet no one was prosecuted, except for a few people at the lowest levels. And behind it all, the massive inequality kept on growing. Yet the structure of power remained the same. Nothing ever changed.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite an interesting area. If people recall that time in the 2010s, Curtis is alluding to things like the tax avoidance of companies like Apple and Google, who were running their profits through Dublin and then out to tax havens in the Caymans and places like that. And there were the bank scandals with people like companies like HSBC, who were laundering nearly $1 million for the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, and Deutsche
Simon,
Bank.
Don't you mean $1 billion? It wasn't $1 million.
Oh, sorry, did I say $1 million? Yeah, sorry, $1 billion. Yeah, it was $881 million. And the bank paid, they paid a nearly $2 billion fine for that. There was also Deutsche Bank, who were enabling ruble trades for the Russians to the tune of about 10 billion. Obviously, the money again was dodgy oligarch money that was being laundered, and of course there was all the mass surveillance by the National Security Agency, the PRISM program. Obviously, we have people like Edward Snowden to thank for looking at that as well. So yeah, there was a very real sense of that. And when he talks about inequality, this was the time when you had the emergence of, I don't know if people remember the economist Thomas Piketty. AA may be sort of familiar with some of his stuff.
He was massively the rage at some point, wasn't he? They loved that book, Capital in the 21st Century. Was it that book?
That's the one. Yeah. There's an interesting clip which I'll post of. He was on Newsnight, I remember at the time, and Paxo was interviewing him, and he says a few things now which at the time you kind of dismiss. You think, oh, he's kind of a bit of a lefty, but he was prescient in the stuff he was talking about there. He was essentially talking about inequality, as Adam Curtis says here, and Paxo looks skeptically and says, but perhaps inequality can be good for society. And Piketty says, it's all a matter of degree. But the problem we have at the moment is the bottom half of the population own about 3% of national wealth, and he says the problem with that is that the share of wealth in the middle classes has been shrinking over the last 30 years. And Paxman says, well, why does that matter? And Piketty says, because I can sort of foresee a risk of the population turning against the system if the wealth continues to accrue upwards.
That is kind of happening, isn't it? That is pretty close to the left-wing line as well, of like fascism and the far right always surge upwards when there's economic problems as well, right? That's what he's alluding to as well.
In elite theory terms, what is being said by Piketty is that the non-ruling elite, the layer of the managerial class, if you want to put it that way, is being hit by this, right? Yeah. Those people who were, look at the real wages of a professor as an example, right? And not only the status that used to accrue to being an academic, but the actual wages that a professor would get versus their wages now. Over time, these are the sorts of things that Piketty would have in mind, because if enough of those people turn against the system has a problem, because no system can run without the non-governing elite being on side, basically. So,
and specifically, he was identifying that the problem was that the rate of return on capital was tending to be greater than the rate of economic growth.
Hence, what rentierism. Sort of,
So as people have
to be already there is immensely. To be already rich is very
advantageous. The wealth of that part of the population. I mean, often identified as boomers, where it's the ownership of the speculative asset classes like property that contribute to that social schism.
Certainly, BlackRock agree, don't they? BlackRock buy up loads of land. Bill Gates.
Isn't California the banner case for this, where huge, and I mean huge, profits accrue to the Silicon Valley companies, Google and Facebook, etc. Not Facebook, actually, because Facebook never makes any money, but you know what I mean, right? Huge amounts of money is generated by those kind of massive blue chip firms there, but it doesn't actually trickle down to the middle class of California, who have now moved en masse to places like Texas. So you're left with really wealthy financial engineers, software engineers, and accountants and things working for these companies. Then you have like an underclass of basically slave labor, illegal immigrants, and so on, and people on welfare, and then nobody in the middle. That's California.
Just to add about Piketty, I mean, he arrived shortly after Occupy as well, right? It was a very well-timed book. And also, like, I didn't realise he'd been on with Paxman. Paxman also had Russell Brand on at the time. Russell Brand was also given the New Statesman to edit for a month for some reason as well. I think it was when he was going out with Jemima Khan. Don't know what that had to do with it, but the Fabian magazine, New Statesman. And that sort of launched Russell Brand as a serious commentator on stuff, you know. Until then, he'd always just been a comedian. But that launched him as a politically concerned comedian. And it was just hard left stuff at that time. But I just remember that was all part of the Occupy thing in 2012, but then the mood carried on for a while after.
Has Thomas Piketty followed the Russell Brand trajectory to becoming a kind of right-adjacent populist, or has he sided with a globalist? Like, where is Piketty in today's?
Not quite, but he may intersect with some of our concerns. What he tends to talk about now is, as he was doing at the time, progressive wealth taxes, but not in a sort of wholly punitive sense. For he wants to preserve the middle class, so he would think about wealth taxes, for instance, on inherited wealth above high levels, into the millions, rather than, for instance, say he gave the example on the Paxo interview of saying, well, someone in London might have a £500,000 house, but they have a £490,000 mortgage. So I'm not going to be hitting those people. I'm going to be hitting people who are in the kind of sort of super wealthy inherited sphere, where there aren't sort of liabilities against their liquidity.
How much crossover does this sort of thinking have with Gary economics? Because he's kind of pushed even by our sort of friend Aaron Bastani.
Gary Stevenson.
I don't kind of get him. He's a lot of sound and fury, but he maybe warrants further examination at some point. Maybe he's just the Russell Brand for now.
What, like Russell Brand got off drugs, didn't he?
No comment. We are.
I've seldom made it more than a minute into a Gary economics video, just because he's very monkeyan. He's kind of much like Rory Stewart in that way. He's kind of simian face, and
it's not worth the effort. I've given him an hour here and there. It's not worth it. He's not saying anything.
Daniel Priestley pretty much destroyed him on a podcast. I think it was the Rob Moore podcast. It's not very well thought through. I've noticed the left a lot more going for the kind of Gary economics vibes, though. You see, even Clive Lewis the other day sort of quasi praised the Unite the Kingdom Tommy March.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but he did it from the left, and he did it from the pure. We get it, guys. Your communities have been deracinated by the free market.
In some cases, it's getting quite embarrassing. And I would cite the example of the Young Turks, right? Not Anna, who we all love, of course. Guard was there quickly on that. But what's the other one?
Schenk.
Yes. How do you say it? Schenk. Now he is starting to make tweets where, right? I mean, this one, right? He's got 50,000 likes on this, million views.
You guys are right about hate speech,
right? You have to give credit to the right for saying principled on hate speech. Whenever anyone is in power, all of a sudden they start talking about hate speech because it's such an obvious way to shut down dissent. But when Pam Bondi suggested it, the right pushed back. Nice job. And to me, I'm like, come on, man. He spent the past decade calling the right everything from his platform. Now he sounds like he's sucking up to them. And I don't know. I smell.
It's afraid.
I smell.
Yeah. They're trying to readjust. I mean, he was on Tucker last night, and to be fair, if you're taking it at face value, he was good. Tucker had Scott Adams, Megyn Kelly, Schenk, and one other guy, and he was actually good. But yeah, I see what it's a desperate sort of pivot, isn't it? But
he's making a play for audience percentage.
He did say he'd been to Charlie Kirk's event and he'd realised they're good people and things like that. So maybe.
So he's a late adopter, whereas me, as the David Bowie, at the moment of I'm like, now I'm centre right. Now I'm centre right. The right is a toothless old woman. Now I'm centre right, guys. Centre left. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I've noticed on the left, the Clive Lewis, don't you think that they just miss one whole half of it? And you'll know this from your sort of John Grays and everything. They miss, or your sort of SDP take, or your Blue Labour. They miss the social conservative side. So they'll say, yeah, I totally get it, guys. The march, I totally understand. But what they don't understand is the hyper social liberalism and the and the sort of immigration policy, which is one reason those people are out there on the street. But they'll only do the other side, which is the excess of the free market and the sort of Gary economics and lefty Labour, Richard Bergen types. Are all going to double down on that one side.
Yeah, or when they do get it, they deliberately don't get one half. Like Bastani is an example I've noticed. He gets the social conservatism side, but he won't give anything on race, for example.
Right.
I've noticed.
Right. They still can't do immigration. Yeah.
It's kind of. I noticed that strategically they don't get certain things. Anyway, let's carry on.
Because nothing could be allowed to destabilize the system. But then the shape-shifting began.
Thank you very much. So nice. So amazing. So amazing.
Trump may be one person who they grow into themselves thing, mate. I actually think that I prefer 2016 Trump to early Trump or to current Trump.
That's my favorite Trump as well. He had so much energy and aggression, and kind of the cartoonishness of his look was at maximum.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Curtis just said there, I don't know what the first bit of the sentence was, but then the shape-shifting began.
Yeah.
What's it referring to?
Well, it's the theory I've talked about before with Surkov, and a lot of it was formulated by a Russian art historian called Boris Groys. And he traced a lot of this kind of thinking that Surkov exploited and then shifted to America to a Russian avant-garde group of artists called the Suprematists or the Constructivists. And they would sort of organize these, quote, scandalous pieces of theatre to sort of antagonize the public and attract the press. This is I'm quoting from an article that I'll post a bit later. But essentially, it says every work of Russian futurism, as it was also called, is to be understood as an illusion, participating in a nonsensical, shapeless reality where nothing is real and everything can be questioned. And they talk about Trump. And they say politicians of the past would attempt to deny their foolish missteps, to feign ignorance or perform embarrassment. But now the absurdity, the incoherency is the point. It is present in the clownish, rage-fueled rumblings of Donald Trump, a man who is often accused of gaslighting the nation he is meant to serve, of lying, leering and sowing seeds of self-doubt to the American people. But it isn't really gaslighting, because there is no aspect of denial. In fact, Trump is audaciously transparent, and this is a tactic learnt from Russia. Putin openly jokes that Moscow plans to interfere in the 2020 US elections, but he isn't really joking, and he knows that we know he isn't really joking. It's a type of cynical, mocking performance of pretending to be something that everyone knows you're not. And there's a political scientist called Roman Dobrokotov who says they cannot respond in a serious fashion and to the point, so they start to play act. This is an attempt to mock, to reduce everything to nothing. And that's where this idea of this playful Trump comes in, because, this particular article, after reading it, I began to look at footage of Trump and I just thought, none of it is real. It's just nonsense. He's just having fun. And do you remember, as Nick said, during the time of the lead up to the election, he'd be doing these rallies and people would talk in stand-up comedian terms. They would say, oh yeah, he's flying here and he's flying there. He's just done another 2-hour set here. Yeah. and he's indefatigable, but he's just riffing and the content, none of the content matters at all.
So did you say that the Russian guys switched their activism or their activities to America? Did you say?
Well, it seems that in the American context, this mode of operating was picked up.
Right. Okay. Imitating perhaps what they'd seen in Russia, maybe. Or
I don't know. I don't know what the linkage is, but it was the sense of creating the bewildering, multipolar unreality was assistive to the political process or to the process of a power of elites attempting to circulate, like you have with Trump here. But it wasn't in itself anything to do with the content of what was being offered. These people can be avatars or scions for the people's wishes, but none of that actually connects with anything in real policy terms. It's just the actual feedback. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's part of a process that's become known as communicative capitalism, where the actual the social media churn is equivalent to dollars. Basic idea that we all know now.
Go on, Nick. Go on.
No, it's not important. I just was going to say I agree with Simon about Trump just saying whatever he feels in the moment. The other guy I've always said that does that is Tucker Carlson. And I got my proof last night on his monologue when afterwards Megyn Kelly said to him, "That was an incredible monologue, by the way." And Tucker goes, "I don't even know what I just said." And I'm thinking that's actually true. This is my theory. Trump and Tucker are such incredible speakers because they're so in the moment, and then they don't even really know what they've said 5 seconds later because that's just how they are, and that's why they're so incredible at communicating. That's just my theory. But that's why people try and get Trump. Oh, he lied on this, he lied on this. It's like he just lives in a kind of radically subjective present. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say there's another quick quote from Surkov himself. He said, "To be understood is simple human happiness. To be misunderstood is the privilege of genius."
What you said, Nick, maybe that applied to Jonathan Bowden as well. I can imagine.
I was thinking of Bowden in the back, and I've actually said exactly that to Ed Dutton about Bowden. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine him as like he has like an inspiration for a speech, and it's like petrol; it all just burns off. And there's nothing there after, like he can't even remember what he's just said. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I agree. I totally agree. He gets in the moment completely. That's my theory.
Yeah, he talked about his own speaking.
I mean, I do think there's a substantive point being made because this is basically like what I've called elsewhere vibes-based government, right? But it doesn't.
The clown show as well. The clown show. Yeah,
it doesn't. I mean, there's a good example from today, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is actually happening as we speak, right? I mean, but like, does anybody believe that this is going to bring substantive change to anyone?
They're like a mirror image, aren't they? The two vibes-based leaders.
Yeah.
May I ask, did like Surkov or like similar operators have anything to do with that sort of art music collective Pussy Riot? Do you remember them?
Yeah. I came across them in my researches. I can't remember the connection now, but it's highly likely it was one of those things that was promoted and pushed by Surkov as a kind of performative opposition to Putin, because he had that pro-Putin group, the Nashi, the kind of youth movement, and these were kind of the alternative set, the kind of the theatre kids, in the form of Pussy Riot.
Well, I used to read Standpoint magazine. I don't know if it wasn't very well known, but it was. I didn't really realise at the time, but it's like a neocon, a British neocon magazine. Douglas Murray wrote for them, Nick Cohen, and all these other. Everyone was pretty much Zionist. Like I think Maureen Littman wrote for it, and all sorts. But there was some good stuff in there as well.
From the BT adverts?
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
And also from National Lampoon's European Vacation as well. She has the briefest cameo in that. But yeah, like they were lauding Pussy Riot, and I think I stopped reading the magazine at that point because I thought, like, I don't really have any particularly strong feelings for or against Putin and his regime, but I don't like Pussy Riot. They seem like some sort of gay op, like they seem like a Western. I don't know. So yeah, I just thought, but on the other hand, Surkov will run things that he disagrees with and stuff. So
well, it's not a question whether he agrees or disagrees with it. It's the spectacle itself. I mean, this is another quote from this article. It's talking about the avant-garde turned Russia into a bewildering piece of theatre where politics has been purged of any legal or moral standards and swapped out for nonsensical spectacle. This is worsened by the fact that the West is no longer even attempting to understand contemporary Russia. Instead, we historicize it, we diminish its advancements, and we render it as a Soviet hangover. The Russia we understand is a Russia of the past, and so we keep it there because this means we don't have to acknowledge the fact that Russia has arrived at the future first. In order to progress past the current motionless point of politics in the West, we need to be able to conceive of an alternative reality that is not just more of the same. We need to believe in a viable future. And to do this, we have to be realistic about what type of future this might be. And right now, the future is being played out in Russia.
And it's Curtis saying that, or Surkov?
This was an article relating to the Russian futurists who developed this kind of methodology of destabilized public perception.
Do you guys also remember that group Femen as well? They were like another protest group who they'd write,
it's kind of
like
feminist Pussy Riot.
Yeah, they'd like get their boobs out, but they'd have like oppression written on their boobs.
Yeah,
or whatever, or
yeah. But they're the equivalent of something like Extinction Rebellion, or Just Stop Oil. In a sense, they're public performative, opposition. I mean, the point I'm sort of making with this section is, Trump does all this meaningless stuff, and people like Lewis Goodall and the news agents and Rory Stewart and Newsnight and all the commentators just get their tits in a knot about it, and it changes nothing.
I mean, talk about hyper reality. There's new stuff coming out all the time. Look at this. Can you believe that Gwent in their council meeting didn't mention Charlie Kirk? Shameful. Absolute shame. I you know what I mean? Get like this is so. Anyway, let's get back to Curtis.
What? That's okay. I love you more, okay?
The campaign that Donald Trump ran was unlike anything before in politics. Nothing was fixed. What he said, who he attacked, and how he attacked them was constantly changing and shifting. Trump attacked his Republican rivals as being all part of a broken and corrupt system, a politics where everyone could be bought, using words that could have come from the Occupy movement.
You've also donated to several Democratic candidates, Hillary Clinton included, Nancy Pelosi. You explained away those donations, saying you did that to get business-related favors. And you said recently, quote, "When you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do."
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, you know, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand, a lot of money. I will tell you that our system is broken. I give to many people. Before 2 months ago, I was a businessman. I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them, 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me. And that's a broken system.
At the same time, Trump...
Just briefly there. I mean, you see that clip there is it. He's doing the Surkoff thing of pulling back the curtain. Yeah. And in doing so, what he does, he destabilizes the other candidates, not himself. He presents himself and says, you know, look at me. I'm a kind of rough diamond. I'm a wheeler dealer. But look at these guys. They're corrupt.
Yeah, I thought that was the ultimate baller move to say, the system is broken. Do you know how I know? I broke it. It's corrupt because I'm giving them money in a corrupt way.
Exactly. It goes back to where we saw the Mayfair set with Mohammed Al-Fayed doing Cash for Questions. And the commentators in that document are saying, well, actually, he kind of did a service by pulling back what the corruption of Westminster was like. You know, and in a way, what Trump is doing there, you know, do you all remember at the end of Goodfellas, there's the bit where Ray Liotta kind of breaks the fourth wall and he does this monologue, you know, saying that, you know, anything I wanted was only a phone call away, free cars, hideouts and all this stuff. You know, we paid off the cops, you know, and, you know, everyone had their hands out, you know, and everything was for the taking. That's what
now
the
it's
monologue
all
is
over.
giving. And now it's all over. Exactly.
Yeah. And it is a bit like what Dominic Cummings is doing now, but Trump is doing it live while he's in the race. This is corrupt. I corrupted it. And it was placed in, like you say, above all of them because he's just handing out money to them. He just put them in a completely higher status to all of them. They're all just his bitches. It was extraordinary, that moment.
used the language of the extreme racist right in America.
No, he didn't.
Connecting with people's darkest fears, pushing them and bringing those fears out into the open.
Get the fuck out of here! Our country, motherfucker! Our country! Proud fucking American! Made in USA, bitch! Made in fucking USA!
Average audience member there, chaps.
Yeah, this is like that guy. Like he might seem a bit rude, but he's just a civic nationalist, almost certainly. It's just like,
and look at he's obviously disciplined. He's he's worked on his body in the gym. Top
and
lad.
we've seen nothing of who he's shouting at and what they said to him. And Curtis's sad little leftist pabulum about the extreme racist right. Like
we didn't probably hear it because of the previous pause. But I thought that was a weak lefty. The extreme racist. He was a big racist.
I think, to be fair, I think there is an element of Curtis saying, in a bit like a Sarkovian way, it's not Trump directly using the language of the extreme racist right. Obviously, he said things that people said were racist. I think it's more that the idea the campaign was directing the energy in these different ways. Trump was doing this kind of, honest Joe act to the public, saying, look at this, here's the corruption, and I was part of it. And at the same time, there's this tension with the kind of outer edge of a kind of I mean, in the comments to this particular video, which I'll link to, this was footage at a Trump rally in Arizona. The top comment under this YouTube video of this guy says, "The day Chad nationalism was born."
I think you're being way too much of a Curtis apologist. Curtis was just being a gay lefty.
Okay.
See, Simon's the heel, right? Yeah, Curtis is the heel here, and Simon defends him, so Simon's the heel.
Simon's the heel.
I'm gonna
or it's a Nick babyface tag team.
Oh no!
Don't worry, Simon. This is what the heels always did. This is Jesse the Body Ventura and Bobby the Brain Heenan gaslighting the audience, being like, look, Hogan's the one who's cheating. Hogan's the bad guy. That's what they always did.
Was there a sort of sequence where the baby face would be beaten up and utterly broken and would slink away in
on a stretcher,
in a piteous
bloodied,
fashion.
Knocked out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But then he'd make a comeback at some point.
Exactly.
It's called Bringing the Heat.
onto-
I know about this. It's called Bringing the Heat.
Yeah.
If Curtis is sort of pointing out that Trump used whatever rhetoric he wants, I always thought that was true. Like just reach for whatever works. That is certainly true, right? I don't know if that's Sokovian, but
he means
Trump is not sincerely opposed to immigration. He had to be put, like Tice, like Farage, like the British political class in general. They had to be forced to even say things like "stop the boats," let alone legal immigration, right?
Yeah.
So Trump is like that. He just realizes the issue of the moment is the southern border.
Yeah, it's the thing about people said he's an instinctive politician. I don't think it's not Trump is playing 4D chess, but I think it is an idea that he has an instinct for juggling energies and kind of standing there going, hey, it's not to do with me. Don't look at me. I'm just showing you how it is. People do these things. They're really terrible things. I don't like it. It's really bad. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's the thing of going, they're rapists, and some of them, I assume, are good people. But that's all that Curtis is thinking of, I reckon, that Mexican comment.
A sort of equivocation.
That's the one they always cite that one. That's clearly the worst thing he said. They would have found something worse if there wasn't.
Yeah, and he was talking about the worst rapists and criminals coming over the border, so he wasn't even wrong. But
no, yeah, he's saying the border is open for sick people to come in and do terrible things. Yeah, it's a fact, obviously.
I remember this dynamic now that has opened up with these two beating up on Simon reminds me a little bit of when, not many people remember this, Sting, back in his surfer days when he had the blonde flat top haircut, briefly joined the Four Horsemen. And he came out kind of wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, flanked by Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. And everybody was like, oh, what's going on here? Sting has joined the Horsemen. And they got to the ring. The match started within about 4 seconds. They both turned on Sting and were beating the shit out of him in the middle of the ring and kicked him out of the Horseman in about 5 minutes. So that's basically what's happened here. Horace and Nick here, the Ric Flair and Arn Anderson of this screen turning on our hero.
They're very violent people. So bad.
I quite like Arn Anderson. I know he had a boring personality, but
he was brilliant. I mean, a great wrestler.
Superb. Yeah.
Sting is a bit obscure. I only know Sting is like when you could only watch WCW because you couldn't get WWF, and that's all that was on telly. You'd see Sting, and he was the only good one, except if Flair was in there, I guess. He was kind of like the only. Is that fair? He was like the only real star of WCW. Unless
he was like their Hogan. He was like WCW's Hogan for a while. Yeah, exactly right.
Don't fucking cook my burrito, bitch! Don't fucking make my tortilla, motherfucker! And build that fucking wall for me! Trump! I love Trump! Fuck you! I love my country! Yeah! I'll fuck like...
This is actually real footage of my buddy Charlie Charlemagne. This is what he's like in real life.
At least 10 of you up in one fucking scene, you fucking pussy! Come on!
Many of the facts that Trump asserted were also completely untrue. But Trump didn't care. He and his audience knew that much of what he said bore little relationship to reality.
Thank you very much.
This meant that Trump defeated journalism,
Beautiful place.
because the journalists' central belief was that their job was to expose lies and assert the truth.
Greatly appreciated.
Pause.
With Trump, this became irrelevant.
Go on.
Very rare, Nick. Pause just to say, come on, Curtis. Like, Curtis is trying to present a world here where the journalists just believed in exposing lies. It's like, really? in 2016, journalists were just, they were just the intrepid, just heroes, just from a Hollywood 90s movie. All they wanted to do was expose lies. It's like, come on. Utter bollocks.
I'm going to take the punches. I'm not going to defend Curtis.
Come on, Horace. Off the top rope. The ref's not looking. Steel chair.
Absolutely.
I've been suplexed.
I've got my cattle prod.
Do you know what's funny,
I'm
right?
handsome, I'm brave, and I'm strong. Sorry.
I think if anything, Curtis just hit himself with the metal chair and blamed it on us as the referee got up.
Do you know what's funny is that all through his career, Sting, beloved as he was by the fans, was such an epic moron, right? I mean, he's just spent 3 years feuding with the Horsemen, one of the most dastardly heel teams ever. Do you want a team with a Sting? Yeah, okay then, guys, I'm here. And then obviously they turn on him. And later on in WCW, there was a fantastic angle where Lex Luger was clearly evil, right? But they went to the gym together. They were best buddies and all that. And the crowd was trying to tell Sting for like a year straight, mate, your Lex Luger's a bad un. Like he's mocking you behind your back type thing. And he was just like, he literally wouldn't have it. One of the funniest things you should watch, if you're into wrestling, you should track down the whole angle where Sting, babyface Sting, was tag teaming with a heel Lex Luger for like a year and didn't realize that his best mate was evil. So
yeah,
that's you, Simon, with
that's
these
it.
two. With these two,
Yeah.
they're bad influences, mate.
Well, people are
Yeah.
some in the chat saying Nick's my new hero, so I don't know. I mean, who's the real hero?
I think what this is about. Here's my defense. The others they're gonna slam me for this, but I think it was the idea that Trump disrupted the way journalism operates, because journalism operates on this. Yeah, we're just about the facts. We're about rationality. It's like in Century of the Self, we saw how advertising changed from trying to sell a car by just telling people it was well built and it was fast, to trying to talk to their subconscious instead. And what journalists believe is the political exercise. The discourse is about policies and getting the facts and holding people to account. And Trump is playing a completely different game, where he's undermining and confounding their mythic beliefs about themselves as crusaders. What this is political communication that gets crossed with, algorithmic feedback in social media to obtain a silo effect of us playing different games to those dirty journalists, the dirty smear merchants.
That was the best thing about Trump in 2016, like the ruination of the old tricks that used to work on everyone.
Disintermediation. Yeah, exactly.
I loved that. That was the good thing about him. Yeah.
I don't know. I reckon Trump has lied a lot, especially in recent years and months. I think
all
there's
the
been
time.
a lot of lies.
Yeah,
all the time.
I think there's some truth to what. I mean, yeah, okay. You could say, well, the media has been caught out lying a good number of times as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm with Simon. I side with Curtis. The man who made the ocean apart all those years ago. Through thick and thin, we've been with him, Simon.
absolutely.
And he has shed more truth and more light on matters than Trump has, in my opinion. So as a man of the centre left, I side with Curtis.
Not surprisingly, Vladimir Putin admired this.
Что вы думаете о Дональде Трампе?
Он яркий очень человек, талантливый, без всяких сомнений. Но это не наше дело определять его достоинство, это дело избирателей в Соединенных Штатах. Но он абсолютный лидер, мы сегодня видим, президентской партии. Он говорит о том, что...
He's become current Putin. He's not young. That's current Putin. Earlier it was young Putin, but now this is current Putin. So the transition has happened. I don't know when exactly, but...
хочет перейти к другому уровню отношений, более плотному, глубокому.
The entire shape of his face changes. Yeah, there's one of those conspiracies that, like Paul McCartney, like current Putin is a different man. That is an actual conspiracy. Some people.
I knew the McCartney one. I didn't know there was a Putin one.
Yeah, that the real Putin died 10 years ago, and this dude is a different bloke.
Уровню отношений с Россией, разве мы можем это не приветствовать? Конечно, мы это приветствуем. Все, что касается внутриполитических вещей, его обороты речи, что он использует для повышения своей популярности, повторяю еще раз, это не наше дело оценивать эту его работу.
Спасибо.
The Liberals were outraged by Trump, but they expressed their anger in cyberspace, so it had no effect.
Such a baseline. One worth remembering.
That's it.
Because the algorithms made sure that they only spoke to people who already agreed with them. Instead, ironically, their waves of angry messages and tweets benefited the large corporations who ran the social media platforms.
It's just worth remembering. they're still harvesting your outrage for profit.
Yeah.
One online analyst put it simply: angry people click more. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet no longer had the power to change the world. Instead, it was becoming a fuel that was feeding the new systems of power and making them ever more powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I say, though, I'm not sure exactly where I was going to say it, but he's saying that this anger, they're all in echo chambers, it doesn't do anything. But I think if we've seen in recent events, from Trump himself getting shot and from obviously Charlie getting killed, that it does have an effect. Maybe it can't win elections. They can't win elections, so they've moved on to terrorism. But the idea that all the Trump, maybe I'm saying the same point as Kurt, so I don't know. But the idea that everyone's saying angry things about Trump, that has encouraged people now to get violent. It's brainwashed them, as Scott Adams was outlining last night to Tucker. It's completely brainwashed them to now do incredibly violent, high-profile things. So it hasn't done nothing.
I will also mention, though, that from concept to commodification, the Trump assassination may have set a new world record, because he was literally shot on the one day, and the T-shirts were already T-shirt already out by midnight. It was crazy when that happened. So, in a way, it's even more hyper. Yes, the bullets are real, but in fact, what it registers as is hyper events in the clickathon. If you know what I mean, those were probably banner days for the social media giants.
It's true, and there's certainly an extent to which people don't even recognize the people as real. I mean, I think some of them do recognize Charlie as real, and they're just utter scum. But some perhaps just see him as a kind of avatar and not a real person. So there's also an argument for that. Sorry,
but Charlie Kirk, even within MAGA world, is now existing as a kind of version of himself that never really existed. I mean, they're putting on this event in his honor, and Trump himself is going to be the headline act. And you can have a look at the way it's being presented, and you can see that. I mean, there's a kind of a new mythos, or like a mythical version of Charlie Kirk being born, even as he's now dead. This is actually happening in real time.
Well, that is not a new thing, and he's so close to being a sort of Christian martyr, Charlie. And I think genuinely was this good person, not a perfect person, but that's not new in itself, is it? But yeah, fair enough.
I was just going to hit this with this description. This is this idea. This is formulated by a woman called Jodie Dean in a book called Democracy and Other Neoliberal Fantasies, and it's this formulation of this idea of communicative capitalism. This is where Curtis is working from, this left cultural theory, and it posits this idea that communication has become capital. It's not just a means of exchange or dialogue. It's a form of capital in itself. You know, when you look at things like the sort of statistics that the average person is spending 145 minutes a day on social media, you know, which will translate to Facebook as 134 billion in revenue last year. Yeah, and the other things about communicative capitalism is it looks like there's a collapse of the public sphere in a sense of, you know, rational discourse and democratic consensus, and what you get instead is what Bannon calls the noise, the proliferation of opinions and memes and virality, and politics and participation in politics becomes a spectacle. And so the actual energy of the system is just the circulation of that material. And that's why I say the content of what Trump says just doesn't matter. You know, the part of it that's key is that it is essentially integrated with the neoliberal project of promoting individualism, deregulation, market logic, self-expression, all the stuff that Curtis has been going on about, the radically expressive individual, translating that into what you call datafication. You know, as AA said, you know, everything that you do is harvested into data, which then fuels the algorithms to feed that back to you, and then generates the ad revenue profits, and it gives power to platforms, and you participate in it as what they call affective labor. That's essentially, you do unpaid emotional labor, like, you know, outrage, clickbait, you know, that sort of stuff. That drives traffic, benefiting the platforms.
And the good old Musk, though, has brought in paid emotional labor, because we now get paid. And isn't that a great thing? You get paid. Of course, it's led to extraordinary amount of slop. People with the just fake. It's so annoying, all the slop and fake stuff people don't check. But even someone like me with my extremely heartfelt, honest tweets can still make a few dollars.
And it feeds a political apathy. Essentially, this is where our friend Evelyn, Scrump and Evelyn, tweeted on the 10th of September. I just want to read the tweet out. Evelyn was saying, "I don't like David Betts. You shouldn't either. But when he speaks to his fellow elites, he tells the truth." And Evelyn quotes this post from a report he did, Cyber Power and International Security from 2012. And I'll just read the post that Betts made. Cyberspace can be a powerful force for good, but it has a significant dark side also. For one thing, the rapidity and ease of communications means that actions initiated in one place can have practically instantaneous effects in another, regardless of their geographical separation. And the limits beyond which there are no potential attacks are disappearing as national frontiers become more permeable. It seems to accelerate existing revolutionary tendencies and offer new coercive tools to which such groups may escalate. And yet, paradoxically, it seems also to enervate these movements, to impair their ability to escalate, and to build disciplined cadres over the long term, which heretofore has been a hallmark of revolutionary success. Contemporary events in the Middle East, where old regimes toppled by spontaneous outpourings of public rage, e.g. Arab Spring that we saw last week on Facebook, are being succeeded by more disciplined revolutionaries playing the vanguard game, illustrating this duality.
Very interesting. I just as we've been on air, more examples of our hyper reality being exposed in real time, right? Because as we have been talking, our foreign secretary, in fact, it's quite a good trivia question. Who is the foreign secretary? Anyone know?
David Lammy, isn't it?
Yeah, we got Yvette Cooper.
It's Yvette Cooper, Nick. Yes.
He was swapped. Okay. Mahmoud became Home Secretary, and Yvette swapped to
Nick,
and Lammy swapped to Deputy and Justice.
It's like he's a professional. He keeps up with the slop, with the Punch and Judy show. Well, people are posting clips of Yvette Cooper on a women's pussy march in 2017 against Donald Trump. And contrasting it with her now shaking hands and greeting Donald Trump as the foreign secretary.
Amazing.
Thereby exposing previous kayfabe with current kayfabe.
Though it can't be worse than Lammy's previous comments about Trump, can it? And he's already been through that humiliation of like, Trump's a Nazi fascist. Hello, Mr. Trump, welcome. You know, he's already done all that nonsense. But yeah, fair point.
So what was the real Yvette Cooper? Was it the one in 2017 or the one now? Or is it all fake? Is it all just bullshit?
It's the one who can't deport a single migrant. Have you seen that now? We got the one in, one out has failed. Well, we can't even get one out.
I heard Liz Kendall on the radio coming in, who said that Mahmoud is giving it her A game. And it was kind of an interesting exchange with Ferrari, who was quite contemptuous of the one in, one out policy.
Isn't that the worst thing you can say? Like, this is our best attempt, and we're not even deporting one person.
0 is our absolute best. I suppose you'd say Mahmoud hasn't got going yet. Let's see. She's a funny one, isn't she? Because in the macro, she wants total Islamic domination, but in the micro, she might be a bit tougher than some of the other people.
Maybe. Well, she is a former judge, so she, in theory, knows how the system works. They've done a very rare thing in politics, which is played somebody in position, which doesn't happen very often, as we discussed before, Simon. There's a long held policy in British government of playing people out of position. So, like, let's say you were a doctor and now you're a politician, they'd never give you health, as an example. Whereas Mahmoud, as far as I know, has done a lot of work in and around this area, is a former judge, and now she's the Home Secretary, which is rare. They like giving them things they know nothing about for some reason. So
that is really interesting, and it gives me painful analogues with Bruno Fernandes playing way too deep in a 2 in the current Man United midfield. Everyone knows it's ridiculous except the manager. That's really interesting. Yeah, let's see if Mahmoud can actually do something. She's also got the same advisor as Blunkett, and so he wants to derogate from Article 3, doesn't he? I can't believe I do know all this, but you're right. I'm up on all the rubbish. Sorry. Let's see.
If you just stick with stubbornly, Nick, nothing ever happens, you'll probably always be right in the long run. But yeah, you're right.
I think nothing ever happens is having a tough time lately. I am going to say, but
this is the quote I put up from Curtis's New York Times interview in 2016. Hypernormalization is a summation of one of Curtis's major themes, that liberalism, since the collapse of certainty about how its values would transform politics, finance, and journalism, has in fact become genuinely small c conservative. In a world of unpredictability, it has retreated from genuine frontiers, instead opting for holding actions that can make it feel stable and safe, strong and stable.
But none of the Liberals could possibly imagine that Donald Trump could ever win the nomination. It was just a giant pantomime.
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Legendary piece of footage, this, isn't it? Absolutely legendary. Look at him. Wow. Wow.
Donald Trump often appears on Fox, which is ironic because a fox often appears on Donald Trump's head.
Absolutely fuming. Look at that.
I think he's got what the Japanese call tatemai, stony face.
Wow.
Donald Trump owns the Miss USA pageant, which is great for Republicans because it will streamline their search for a vice president. Donald Trump said recently he has a great relationship with the blacks, though unless the blacks are a family of white people, I bet he's mistaken.
Fucking hell, he hasn't moved.
Yeah.
Do you think this is what he did to that Japanese gambler who came in? Just sat there and stared about.
This was the White House Correspondents' Dinner in 2011. The funny thing is, 7 years before, he'd been on Saturday Night Live with Seth Meyers, and they did this sketch. It was a terrible kind of a sort of mock advert for something called Donald Trump's House of Wings. It was like a sort of Kentucky Fried Chicken sort of franchise, and Seth Meyers and a few others, they came on all dressed as chickens and did this little dance routine around Donald Trump, and Seth Meyers. He interestingly is quoted about what happened when they did that sketch. And it was kind of, he said, Donald Trump did not strike me as somebody who had ever even processed if something was funny or not. If the joke was about him being handsome or rich, he liked it. If the premise was based on his looks or his success, he would say, oh, I like that, but he wouldn't laugh or smile. And he talks about this routine that they did. And he said, Trump always thought it was so stupid. And every time we rehearsed it, he would talk about how dumb it was and how it wasn't going to work. And then when we did it, and even if you watch it on air, the audience loses their mind. They love it. And it has this moment where the minute they like it, he likes it. He could immediately process that it was working. And then as it went on, he kept on getting better and better. He would dance more. And Myers goes on to say, what I have seen at rallies where he was running for president and things were all of a sudden like bits that worked, like when build the wall or lock her up became catchphrases. I realized, oh, that's the same brain that eventually was convinced that Donald Trump's House of Wings was a winner. And the one thing, and is the one that's realizing that lock her up is a winner. And the only thing is that the audience likes it.
Do you know what? That's really interesting. And it is a great clip, that the House of Wings, very funny. The thing that makes me question all that, though, is that Trump is known to be incredibly funny. Not only have we all seen it, his family say, it's well known. So if he's funny, and he, in a sort of private way with his family and even a self-deprecating way, then that can't quite be true that he has no instincts for what's funny.
I agree. That's coming from Seth Meyers, obviously, which is the shitlib position.
Yeah, Trump's much funnier than Seth Meyers. His jokes were decent there in the roast. We would have had help with them. But who's funnier, Trump or Seth Meyers off the cuff? It's Trump every time.
Yeah.
Though interestingly here, of course, Trump's trying to rebrand as serious. So he's furious that they're mocking him. And their hubris, of course, it's sort of well known as what created Trump, the Obama saying you'll never be president and so on. But I just suddenly thought in a really narcissistic way, Trump's trying to do what I tried to do when I left comedy. You leave comedy, no one will ever allow you to leave it. Even if you really boringly talk about anarcho-tyranny every night, they won't actually let you leave it. So with Trump, he was trying to adjust here from talk show host to serious political figures, so he couldn't afford to laugh at this. Just a theory I just came up with.
All of this has confirmed one of my long-standing theories, of course, Simon, which is that nobody with the first name Seth can ever be trusted on any topic ever. Right? You follow that rule, and mark my words, it is true basically every time. There are no good Seths in this world. Find me one.
That's actually interesting, because Seth Dillon's coming in for a lot of attack from Tucker and others currently for things he said about Charlie late towards the end and threats to Tucker and so on. Very interesting.
There are no good Seths.
Seth Green turned into a werewolf in Buffy. Do you remember Seth Green? In Buffy, he would turn into a werewolf. I mean, that's one of the least trustworthy things you can do.
Something about that name. Go on, Horus. Sorry. Was Horus trying to say something?
As an Egyptian god, Set was my nemesis. So there's no H on the end, but you could sort of imagine there was. Set
so
destroyed...
the original
it was
OG Egyptian Seth.
Sorry, yes, Set was sometimes spelt with a H. So yes, Seth was he was my nemesis. He destroyed my father and mother and scattered their body parts all over Egypt.
Well, there you go.
Wasn't there a connection between Seth and Satan as well in going back far enough? I'm sure Peterson talked about that.
I've never actually asked, why are you called Horus?
Just when I was I started making videos about nearly 10 years ago, and I just thought of a name one day, and the first thing I thought of was this computer game that I liked when I was younger called Eye of Horus. And I thought the Horus character was cool. Yeah, I thought
you're not like a secret Egyptian kind of occultist kind of or something.
No, I wouldn't admit it if I was, but no, I'm not. No.
All right.
I've just looked up Seth's online, and there's Seth Rollins, who's a professional wrestler. Was he a untrustworthy character?
Overrated.
Fair enough. It's the same thing, isn't it, really? Dishonest chin.
Oh, and Nick, you mentioned about werewolves. Like Set had the head of a wolf as well, so the Egyptian baddie. So yeah, or a jackal or something untrustworthy.
Wasn't expecting Horus to take the Seth hatred back 3,000 years. You know. But I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Good move.
3,000 years before Jesus, even. Yeah.
But underneath the liberal disdain, both Donald Trump in America and...
there are going to be people, Horus, now being like, he didn't deny it, did he? There's going to be people like Horus conspiracy theorists. The Horus is a secret Egyptian-style occultist.
Some people already went beyond that. The first time I put a video out in 2019, I got a few comments. Like most of them were just talking about what the video was about. A couple of them were like, I like the video, but why have you named yourself after Satan? They think that Horus is just another name of the devil. Apparently to some people it is. Yeah, so I didn't mean it like that.
Vladislav Surkov in Russia had realized the same thing. That the version of reality...
Do you know Horus appears quite a lot in rap? Because it's one of the few words that rhymes with chorus.
Right.
And so it appears an alarming amount in rap because they need a word to rhyme with chorus.
Yeah.
And they're talking about they're talking about Chorus, the steel firm who owns Port Talbot, right?
There's quite a lot of random
Egyptian
god imagery in rap. Like Ra.
Yeah, but isn't there a rapper called Horus the God? There's
an old dirty bastard. One of his monikers was Osiris. I'm the Osiris of this shit. He used to say.
That's my dad. That's my father.
Yeah. So an awful lot about Horus. More than if it was just taken from an old video game, as you claim. So
There's also another guy called Horus on our scene as well, Horus the Avenger. I can't remember his real name. Tim Murdoch. He's a good guy. I was on his show one time. He was already called Horus before me. I didn't realise.
There's a whole network of them we're discovering. All right.
But you're right about rappers. They do have something about ancient Egypt, don't they? And I don't know if that's related to the "we built the pyramids" thing.
I think that it goes into there's some Ra based mythology. That George Clinton guy who made funk, Funkadelic. he was really into this sort of stuff. And in the 70s, that whole funk movement is imbued with Egyptian stuff. So it's in the culture for some reason. Yeah.
And Funkadelic and Parliament, they had themes of like alien invasion and stuff as well, didn't they? Like, but they were the alien
kind of sci-fi Egyptian thing, where also like the black man is God through Egypt. Somehow.
It's actually quite egotistical, really. But yeah.
It's quite a weird scene, but it exists.
Was no longer believable. That the stories politicians told their people about the world had stopped making sense. And in the face of that, you could play with reality, constantly shifting and changing, and in the process, further undermine and weaken the old forms of power. And there was another force that was about to dramatically reveal just how weak politics had become in the West. Syria.
If you remember 9 episodes ago, this is where we started. In Syria, if you remember. What is this documentary about again, Simon? If I forget.
Well, he's very keen to tie up his narratives, isn't he? So he's like, and here we're back in the Middle East, and here's Donald Trump again. So there was a link all the time. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of a
because otherwise people would say, "What the fuck have you thrown all these things together for?"
Yeah. But if he was really dedicated, he would. I suppose now in his newer work, he has gone even more sort of abstract. But he, to represent the reality, the fake reality, maybe he should just have no through line.
Your Adam Curtis impersonation, Nick, sounds quite a lot like early 80s Melvin Bragg.
Right. I haven't tried it before, but it's interesting. Melvin Bragg is from where I'm from.
Interesting.
And he got to go to the grammar schools and got to transcend the background that I didn't get to transcend because it took away the grammar schools.
At some point, it depends how pretentious we want to get. But in a future show, Simon, remind me of this.
Yeah.
I want to do who was the greatest kind of pretentious sued on the BBC's books. Was it Melvin Bragg or was it Alan Yentob? I want to have a Yentob versus Bragg.
Oh, Bragg's way more real than Yentob. Come on.
Yeah. Bragg's quite down to earth. Yeah.
Although I did see Bragg. You've said that, Horace, but I did see Bragg in Hampstead Heath with a cane, like a stick, like a stick with a. What's that called? With a stick with a bulb on the top.
Yeah, like a cane. Yeah.
Yeah, he had his cane. He looked incredibly like a Lord Bragg. He was like he actually.
He is Lord Bragg as well, isn't he? He is.
Yeah.
He is a peer. Yeah.
The main thing
definitely social mobility through the grammar schools. Definitely. Sorry, go on.
One of the main things I remember about Melvin Bragg was that on Spitting Image, he would appear and he'd have like a milk bottle, like a child's milk bottle that he'd stuff up his nose. He'd take a sniff of it up his nose every once in a while because he's always kind of bunged up.
Yeah. There was always that joke, wasn't it? He would always be saying something like a 2 first-class ticket to Nottingham or something like that, wasn't he?
Why did they have him sniffing the milk bottle? That was a weird reoccurrence because he was one of those characters who, when I was a kid, I was like, "Who's this guy again?" But only later I kind of figured out why Melvin Bragg featured so prominently. So
yeah.
Of where is he, Lord Bragg? By the way, is he Lord Bragg of Kendal or what?
Apparently,
I assume it's of the South Bank.
Apparently, the reason for the gag was never explained, according to AI.
It was never explained why he had the milk bottle. Okay.
What is he?
Lord Bragg of Wigton.
Wigton. Okay.
I don't know where Wigton is.
It's up north, isn't it?
I would assume.
It's it's in Cumbria. I thought it was Market Town in the Cumberland district of Cumbria. I thought it was. I almost. It's just outside the lakes. I should know that. It's where I'm from. I just panicked for a second.
Cumbrian law fail.
What I love most of all is that of the 10,000 plus people who watch this show, possibly less than 200 will actually know who Melvin Bragg was. And yeah, we've spent 10 minutes talking about it. And that's what I love about this show.
Can I just recommend his South Bank show with Francis Bacon? That is one of the all-time great, the painter. It's where Bacon says he's an optimist about nothing. I've just done the same accent, but he doesn't actually say. He goes, "What are you optimistic about?" He goes, "Nothing, nothing at all." Like he doesn't. John Gray, weirdly, is the same of False Dawn. You've mentioned him before. He's a cheerful guy, even though all his books are incredibly bleak. And people say, "You must be really depressed." He's like, "No, I'm just cheerful." And Francis Bacon was the same. Anyway, that's a digression upon a digression.
I should mention that I did a multiple-part show with Mr. D on Francis Bacon in the annals, in the history of deepest law. You'll find it somewhere. We did mention, and those clips were played.
Have you chaps ever? There's a TV movie by Richard Curtis called Bernard and the Genie. Have you guys ever seen this?
No.
We're about the right age. It's pretty obscure. It is on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's reasonably charming in a stupid kind of way. But Melvin Bragg is in that very briefly, so I just thought I'd mention that. Can I just say thank you to everyone in the chat as well? Some lovely comments today. Just people showing us appreciation for me and saying like you're the real Horus and stuff. Like I dig that.
I just want to say to these fans who've hated me all these years, you guys are great. You guys are great. The double turn is actually happening.
Be horrible to me as long as you want. As long as you're nice to me for 5 minutes, I love you. That's great. That's what it takes.
Heel redemption arc.
Okay, we'll continue. We'll continue here. People are mentioning John. I mean, was John Peel mates with Melvin Bragg? They feel like they were part of the. Watching the 80s synth stuff, I get there's a big divide between the John Peel crowd and the Top of the Pops crowd back in the 80s, and it was like you could either be one or the other. So if Peel liked you, you couldn't go on Top of the Pops and vice versa. Is that right? Is that how it used to work?
I suspect so. It would be more the kind of the stamp of authenticity of up and coming talent that would be Peel's kind of. I mean, Peel would be more old grey whistle test kind of, but that's a kind of mediation between Top of the Pops and Peel. You know, sort of slightly more serious approach to music.
Yeah, there's a great clip of him on that Synth Britannia documentary, basically like saying, well, you should watch it, but the little clip they play of Peel, he's being contemptuous of the audience and contemptuous of modern Britain in his little link. I enjoyed it.
Simon, order the following in order of preference, please. John Peel, Whispering Bob, and Bruno Brooks. Go.
Okay. Well, I kind of like Whispering Bob, so I put him at the top, and then John Peel, then Brooks. Obviously, Peel's got controversy still sort of hanging around him as well.
And you ordered Peel. What was the controversy with Peel?
Underage girls.
Oh, the whole Me Too. He was caught up in that, was he? Okay.
Yeah, after he died, I think. But yeah.
No, Me Too's about adults, though. I mean, like John Peel, I think he had a girlfriend underage. Like, I think that is true. Like Jimmy Page, apparently, as well.
It just kind of went on in the 70s, though, didn't it?
Yeah, different times.
Openly, blatantly, like people making jokes about it on TV and stuff. Like, you seen that clip of you seen that clip of Gary Glitter where someone mentions that he's a wrong 'un and he just goes shush on TV. He just puts his finger to his lips.
I mean,
anyway.
The thing is that it's this murky area, but there's right. I tell you what alerted me to this. Right, one of my selections for the 80s bangers better than Madonna. People need to watch the third video, by the way, because it dropped the same day. Just by coincidence, it dropped literally the morning that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So it didn't it just died like it did, and it still only got 4.8 thousand or something like that. So people need to see it so that it gets to 7.8. Otherwise, there's going to be no more 80s based videos. And Andy Edwards has even said he wants to come on and talk about it. So. But that can't happen unless that third video gets 7.8. But one of my selections was I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett. And of course, if you listen to the lyrics of that song and you watch the video, she says, oh, well, the guy was 17 and I walked right up to him and I'm saying like, you're going to come home with me. Yeah, me. And then she basically takes him back and shags him. And well, I didn't know that song is a cover. Right, by Joan Jett. And then I was like, well, who originally did it? It was some other group in the mid-70s. But obviously the original singer was a man. I was thinking, well, this hits a bit different now. It's a man singing it about taking a 17-year-old he saw in the club and just taking it back home and banging her. And I'm just thinking, well, that whole scenario is still not the same, is it, as like prepubescent kids? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
those are two different things, but they seem to be ever more elided in the whole, like when people talk about these sorts of things. Obviously neither one of them are right, but they're qualitatively different, I would say.
There was always that nudge element of music. I mean, even the Beatles, she was just 17, if you know what I mean. All of that.
Well, I start thinking, girl, you'll be a woman soon. You're like, chill out, bro.
There's a long list of other lyrics as well, like that. That song. The touch of a younger, My Sharona. That song's got some dodgy lyrics as well. It's a good song, but
the knack, the knack, My Sharona, seminal influence on Michael Jackson. So I discovered. All right, let's carry on.
Can I just add quickly on your comments yesterday on the 80s music video as well, and please people do go and boost the numbers on that one. Your comments on Derelict that you made. Curtis has a little bit about this actually. He says, I've got this idea. I call it the IAR, the inappropriate aesthetic response. I date it back to Warhol. It's this idea you can take horrific images like the electric chair and aestheticize them. The beheading videos, the orange jumpsuits against the desert background, ISIS uses that knowingly. I have a ruthless theory that the radical art movement, which grew out of the failure of revolutionary politics, becomes the outriders for property developers. You need the aesthetic of decline in order to make those buildings, i.e. the new property developer buildings, desirable.
Interesting.
Let that sit there. Yeah.
So what does he actually mean by that?
It's in a way he's saying that sort of that 80s thing about the kind of Britain as a sort of sci-fi dystopia, against the backdrop of dreary grey tower blocks, almost in a way can be viewed as part of a contrivance by the radical art scene. I mean, he's kind of being tongue-in-cheek and a bit of, in making a sort of tongue-in-cheek conspiracy theory that, the property developers actually they liked all of that kind of, derelict chic of the 80s because it fed into the burgeoning property boom and the modernity that was then, downloaded onto the landscape. So, I mean, as I say, I don't think it is being wholly serious, but he's throwing it in there.
One of the things I have grown to appreciate is that the front covers of the albums and the singles of a lot of those 80s synth pop acts are very cool, kind of modernist aesthetic. I'll share after this stream. I'll share some, Simon, of my favorite examples. I think they're really quite doing interesting things.
Yeah.
Some of Heaven 17's albums have got great covers.
A very good book I was going to recommend to you, the music journalist Simon Reynolds, called "Rip It Up and Start Again." From 2005, it's kind of subtitled about being post-punk, but it actually covers the stuff you've been covering. It's really interesting. I'll send you the PDF of it. You can have a look.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we will finish. We're going to finish.
The attack happened here at a central police station in Damascus. Police say the bomber came up the stairs. Police then opened fire, and then police say he detonated the explosives. And the damage is here to see. Behind me, the pockmarked walls where the ball bearings hit. Blood splattered on the walls. And the force of the blast caused walls to collapse. And everything is topsy-turvy, everything destroyed.
By now, Syria was being torn apart by a horrific civil war. What had started as part of the Arab Spring had turned into a vicious battle to the death between Bashar Assad and his opponents. And at the heart of the conflict was the force that his father had first brought to the West, suicide bombing. Back in the 1980s, Bashar Assad's father had seen suicide bombing as a weapon he could use to force the Americans out of the Middle East. But over the next 30 years, it had shifted and mutated into something that had now ended up doing the very opposite, tearing the Arab world apart. Hafez al-Assad's dream of a powerful and united Arab world was now destroyed. In Iraq, extremist Sunni groups had used suicide bombing as a way to start a sectarian war. And now, groups like ISIS brought the same techniques into Syria to attack not just Assad's son, but his fellow Shiites. And like his father, Bashar Assad retaliated with a vengeful fury, and the country fell apart.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
My fellow Americans, tonight I want to talk to you about Syria, why it matters, and where we go from here.
Faced by the war, Western politicians were bewildered. They insisted that Bashar Assad was evil. But then it turned out...
I should mention, by the way, that we were talking about the rappers earlier. I want to give them props for all of the rappers that I used to listen to being red-pilled on Obama. Basically just saying, like, what, you think just because he's black we're going to be into him? He's the same as all the others. He's just a puppet. We're not buying this bullshit. It's just the same old shit. Those rappers, I think, they came to correct conclusions. Even if you disagree with all their other views, they were basically correct about Obama back then. So
his enemies were more evil and more horrific than him.
The question before the House today is how we keep the British people safe from the threat posed by ISIL. This is not about whether we want to...
Like, before Trump became a politician, you know, you said that rappers had a thing about Egyptian mythology, which I'd noticed as well. They also had a thing about Donald Trump, didn't they? If you heard of Donald Trump, it was often from a rapper.
they were very into... Well, in rap world, they watched Scarface, you know, the Al Pacino movie.
They love Scarface.
And just love it. They were just like, that is what we want. Right, so in the world of rap, they love Scarface, they love Ric Flair, the limousines, the women, the 80s dream, right, the yuppie,
Cristal,
and they love Donald Trump. Those are the kind of figures that they. And in fact, speaking of wrestling, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, if he ever gets a mention in rap, it won't be as a hated heel; it will be as like an aspiration. They want to be the $1 Million Man, you know, so. They fucking love that 80s excess kind of yuppie dream thing. And of course, Donald Trump is a living embodiment of that. So,
because you remember all that emphasis in the lead up to the first election of Trump was looking, you know, lots of pictures everywhere of the kind of Rococo bling that he had in his homes, you know, that kind of excess
and gold plated thrones and shit like that. I mean, that is the rapper aesthetic. I bet you, without even looking it up, I bet you that Snoop Dogg has more than one album of himself sitting on a gold throne, right? I don't even know if this album exists, but without even knowing it exists, I know it exists. You look it up now, look up Snoop Dogg albums. I bet you at least one of them has Snoop Dogg sitting on a golden throne. All right, let's carry on. In fact, I'm going to have a look myself.
Just something else there, David Cameron's clip there. He mentioned ISIL. Do you guys remember him? Maybe I said this before, but like he switched to calling them Daesh because
Daesh. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah,
because it didn't imply, it didn't mention Islam.
What was
he
the
didn't want
difference
to connect
between?
them.
What was the difference between ISIL and ISIS and Daesh?
Daesh was the PC version. That's all I remember. It was meant to be PC for some reason, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to insult them and distance them from Islam. Cameron kept being at pains to say that Islam isn't to blame for any of this, and obviously bring in more and more Muslims into Britain and so on. Yeah, but I don't know why. Like ISIL was slightly more PC than ISIS as well.
Yeah, it's kind of trying to diffuse the image of militant Islam a bit. You know, ISIS, Islamic State in Syria, ISIL, Islamic State in the Levant.
Yeah, why was the Levant better? I don't know, but it was.
I think it's kind of trying to generalize it in a sort of almost globo homo way, make it less specific, because I think the particularism of states was a real problem for them to deal with.
Right.
What did I tell you?
I've mentioned.
Is that not a golden throne? No, carry on. Sorry.
Why do they love Scarface? Scarface gets killed. Like he ruins everything and just gets killed. Like it's not a success. Like Donald Trump is kind of a success, you know. But like Scarface.
Well, yeah, but for a while he's riding high though.
Yeah.
Tony Montana broke one of the 10 crack commandments. He got high on his own supply, which is a big no-no.
So yeah, on Jay-Z's first album, I think there's loads of references to Scarface. Like every track, there's a little bit of dialogue from Scarface or something. Yeah.
I mean, the classic is Raekwon, only built for Cuban links. The entire album is like one album-long homage to, and it's got clips of Scarface all the way through it. You know, great album if you're into that sort of thing, but it's very like Scarface heavy. Yeah.
It's about how best we do that.
So Britain, America and France decided to bomb the terrorist threat. But the effect of that was to help keep Assad in power. Then it became more confusing. Suddenly, the Russians intervened. President Putin sent hundreds of planes and combat troops to support Assad. But no one knew what their underlying aim was. They seemed to be using a strategy that Vladislav Surkov had developed in the Ukraine. He called it non-linear warfare. It was a new kind of war, where you never know what the enemy are really up to.
Allahu Akbar.
The underlying aim, Surkov said, was not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control.
Allahu Akbar.
In March 2016, the Russians suddenly announced with a great fanfare that they were leaving Syria. And a concert was held in the ruins of Palmyra to celebrate the withdrawal. But in reality, the Russians never left. They are still there, and still no one knows what they really want.
كانت الأمور أسهل مما كنا نتصور رغم أن هذا المكان كان له أهمية.
And within Syria, there was a new Islamist ideologist who was determined to exploit the growing uncertainties in Europe and America. He was called Abu Musab al-Suri, the Syrian.
Sorry to interrupt again with this, but since this has been playing a bit, this is a reoccurring trope of rappers in golden throne. This guy in a golden throne. There's Snoop Dogg again with some bird in a golden throne. Here is Big Boy of Outkast in the Game of Thrones throne. He actually did part. Here is Jay-Z in a massive golden throne with a lion on top of it. Here is some ghetto bint in a golden throne. I mean, they just absolutely love it. There are so many different examples of rappers in golden thrones. So it's just one of the things they love for some reason. And also Donald Trump loves that as well, doesn't he? So.
Like, they should probably love the guy from, is it DuckTales, where he just dives off a board into a pool of... They should love him, really.
I'm surprised that hasn't actually been a video that a rapper has done recreating DuckTales. I can see that actually being a video. I'd be surprised. Somebody should look that up. I bet you a rapper has done a real-life recreation of DuckTales.
You remember the theme tune of DuckTales? It's a good one.
Oh, it was great. DuckTales was great. That was probably the best part of it, actually, was the theme tune. Better credits than an actual show, I reckon.
Yeah.
مثال هذا يقع فيه كثير من الكتاب الذين اختاروا أن يكونوا كتاب جهاديين وكتاب للجهاد وما مارسوا الجهاد ولا
Al-Suri had originally worked with Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, but he had turned against him. Al-Suri gave lectures that had a powerful effect on the Islamist movement. He argued that bin Laden had been wrong to attack the West head-on, because it created a massive military response that had almost destroyed Islamism. Instead, Al-Suri said, independent groups or individuals should stage random small-scale attacks on civilians in Europe and America. The aim was to spread fear, uncertainty and doubt, and undermine the already failing authority of Western politicians.
This?
That was footage from the night of the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris.
The effect of the
were
attacks
doing drive-bys.
shocked Europe and America and gave powerful force to the new politics of uncertainty and anxiety.
Sorry, pause.
I'm sure.
Sorry, I got the not the Charlie Hebdo attack. I mean the Bataclan attacks. It was sort of several different terrorist incidents where they did drive-bys in areas like La République, shooting up cafes and stuff like that. Just to quickly go in that Al-Suri guy, essentially what Curtis doesn't say here, what he was doing was trying to activate the idea of a form of leaderless resistance. It's a kind of mirror image of what Occupy were doing, because they saw that the effects of 9/11 and what bin Laden did was to sort of nearly destroy the Islamist movement, and what he wanted to do was create this kind of a spontaneous, unpredictable philosophy of war within democracies. Because while they did want to achieve a state, and that was the kind of strategic goal, he acknowledged that what they needed to do was to exploit democracy to achieve objectives, and see it as a kind of missionary role, and get into do an effective kind of long march through the democratic institutions in countries in the West.
Sorry to bring it back to really frivolous matters, but
Golden Throne.
I mean, I don't have any direct DuckTales recreations, but rappers do love getting a lot of cash out and swimming in it. As you can see, there are lots of examples of rappers surrounding themselves and or swimming in money, as you can see on the screen. It's
just nice and direct, just very straightforward people.
They're just like, we fucking love.
The only more direct way is you've got Rich Homie Kwan, who's literally called Rich Homie.
My favourite Jay-Z.
Oh, he died. He died in 2024. Oh, well. Oh, I think I do vaguely remember that, actually. Wow, that's unfortunate.
The best Jay-Z track for me is just called I Love the Dough. The one with it's got Biggie on it as well. Do you know that one? I
love the dough.
Love the dough. Yeah, first or second one.
I'm finding a little bit of contradiction from P. Diddy, because it was Jay-Z, P. Diddy who told me that mo money, mo problems, and yet later he's just saying he loves it. So in a way, he's saying that he loves more problems.
My Money, My Problems is a Biggie track. It's got P. Diddy on.
But P. Diddy's on that one. Well, maybe he's not choosing. He also did do it about the Benjamins as well, to be fair. So
yeah, I'm not endorsing P. Diddy. I was only saying I like some of Jay-Z's tracks, early Jay-Z. But I love the Dough. It's a good
they're
track.
both not really good rappers. Diddy is a terrible rapper, but he's there as a producer, really. Biggie, obviously, much better rapper. I quite like Mace, but all these people we've mentioned are much better rappers, aren't they, than those two?
I often wonder, did P. Diddy really produce these albums? Because they're very good production. Like,
no, there was a group. There was a group called the Hitmen. The Hitmen who did all the actual music. Right. P. Diddy was the executive producer, which means he owned the label.
Was Diddy just in charge of baby oil? Is that literally like all he did? Like, what did he actually...
Well, he gave the money, and occasionally, if you listen to them, he did this thing in the background where he'd go, take that, take that, take that, take that. So you'd know that it was a P. Diddy, like a bad boy production, because he'd just talk in the background.
And when he said take that, he was talking about a bottle of baby oil. Take that, because I can't
maybe he
hold
was talking about his favorite boy band at the time.
Right.
The baby oil had already been applied, and he was saying take
that.
something else.
Hold that for me. Sorry, it's ridiculous.
Take that, it's bad boy. I mean, I always thought that it was quite a cushy job that Puff Daddy had back in the day.
What
He didn't
being
do
shit
anything.
and getting rich? Yeah,
He just got
no
he
talent.
was rich, and he was like, "What did you do?" Oh, I was in the background saying, "Take that, take that." Yeah,
Yeah, he does
friends
rap
with all
in
the
More
rap
Money,
people.
More Problems, but it's clearly the worst rap. Mace's rap is excellent. Biggie's rap is iconic, isn't it? BIGPOPPA. But Puffy's rap is
it's
not
poor,
good.
poor,
Yeah.
poor. Yeah.
And bigger than the city lights down in Times Square. Yeah. It's like that kind of level.
You with me share the absolute horror and total revulsion at what happened in Paris last Friday. And I'm afraid there is, and we have to be honest and frank about this.
Another thing Puff Daddy liked to do, Nick, is to get a fish lens camera and look straight into it. He did that a lot.
Distorted, but he's looking into it, and his head looks bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, often with Mace around his kind of, with his arm around Mace.
Mace, who jacked it in and became a Christian, but then later went back to it a little bit.
Yeah.
You remember the video for No Scrubs by TLC? I think their video director pioneered that fisheye camera thing. It's the first place I saw it. Kind of works.
Yeah,
there was also that video.
Do they still do that? The rappers then?
It's a bit 90s, isn't it?
The rap singers.
The rap singers. Do they still do the fisheye camera?
Or... See them down the shopping centre.
Simon, is Curtis making a fair point here about Farage, or is he just doing his stupid lefty thing?
I don't know, but I was just thinking about Nigel getting in on the rap singer action. Actually, but there was that AI video the other week, wasn't there? The embarrassing AI. So he's tapping rap energy.
God,
I bought a book recently about the history of Nigel and various rightist groups, written by a rightist. I haven't read it yet, but it promises to give the inside scoop of how Nigel has always kind of been a leech on energy that other people forge the way. He doesn't. He disavows them and then kind of steals what they've built up. It's basically
what's it called?
I'm trying to remember now. It's called.
Because I listened to some of the biography by Crick, but Crick's so annoying I had to give up.
It's no. I mean, this is not a mainstream book at all. It's by it's called Patriot Games by Simon something. So yeah, Patriot Games. It's got like Farage and Lowe on the cover and Tommy on the cover. I haven't read it yet. I just thought it looked interesting. So yeah.
And talk about these things without being fearful. There is a problem with some of the Muslim community in this country.
Wow, that's
there is
brave.
a problem, and we have to be honest about it. Our politicians, I'm afraid, haven't had the guts.
Bollocks.
This could be the great Trojan horse of all time. Because you look at the migration.
I started reading that book, and the guy seemed to be saying that the BNP's problem is that they could never stick on a single line, that they weren't focused enough. Like, so they either should have been in anti-immigration or they should have been anti-EU, but they could never decide on a single strategy. So they were always kind of being pulled between different sort of factions. And to be fair, it's not a bad critique of various rightist groups I've seen who often can't help themselves get distracted by like side issues. I'm not going to mention any names in particular, but like, I don't know, like let's say your thing is immigration, for example. You shouldn't then allow yourself to be like spend time and energy on like the trans thing, for example, because it's ultimately not taking you, it's a side issue. It's not what it's meant to be. But I mean, I'm only a few pages in, but that's what he seems to be saying so far, is that the leadership of the BNP back then, there was a guy called Tyndall, John Tyndall.
John Tyndall, yeah.
Yeah, they were just being pulled this way and that. And then he seems to be pretty critical of Griffin as well. Like when Griffin comes in, he tries to make it like a big Christian thing or something. And again, like these are, so in a way, Nigel being like autistically focused just on Europe, he did the thing that none of the other groups were able to do. The Tories weren't able to, he was just Europe, right? So in a way, I can see that argument. Yeah.
Farage deserves genuine credit for his role in getting us out of the EU. I'm grateful for that. He really did a good thing. He was personally important to that. His like speeches in the European Parliament. Not that everyone watches BBC Parliament or whatever, but they did travel and they made the EU look stupid and stiff and wooden and past it. You know, he did a good job.
Well,
but everything else he says is containment.
The impression I'm getting from this book, though, is that Nigel's role in the system has always been to set up those meetings and those spaces for Tories to be a little bit naughty. Right? Tories to be able to say things they can't say in their normal Tory meetings. If that makes any sense. So it's painting a picture of Nigel as always being a kind of Tory outlet or Tory adjacent unit type thing. So
surely he sees himself as that. Surely that's how he sees it as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in the current thing, given that we're now seeing Tories defecting to reform, in real time, and it's like,
Not just Tories, of course. Mason Humberstone has gone across as we speak. Did you see this? Mason Humberstone. That's a person, by the way. It's not a place or an item.
It's not a villain from that Hannibal film, is he?
It's a Labour councillor who's gone across to Reform UK. A Labour Stevenage councillor. He looks a little bit like the Muslim guy that would kill you in The Wire. He's gone across. Mason Humberstone. And they're bigging it up because he's from Labour.
I've got a question for Reform. Have you ever recruited anyone from your right? Oh, no. Of course not.
Yeah, interesting.
Study it. Look at it. Now they'll start infiltrating with women and children.
Both the Brexit campaign in Britain and Donald Trump in America did exactly what al-Suri had predicted. They used the fear to dramatize a world where everything, even going to a restaurant, had become a risky event. And what had been seen as doomed campaigns on the fringes of society that could never win became frighteningly real.
I am genuinely freaked out right now about this whole Brexit thing, because we'd all been told that it wasn't going to happen. Like, it was going away. It was going away from Brexiting and onto the staying. And because I had this, like, bedrock belief. I have friends who, like, live and work in London. They said, oh, don't worry. We're very sensible people. This isn't going to happen. It's a lot of talk, but that we don't do that sort of stuff here. They were wrong. And it really kind of crushes my view of, like, what can happen that is bad that we don't think is going to happen. Like, it's just not supposed to happen.
Can I pause there, actually? I hate to pause, but these talk show regime comedians are the absolute scum of the earth. We've just seen Jimmy Kimmel has come out and said that it's a MAGA guy who killed Charlie Kirk. Just flagrantly said that on his show. You can almost see even Kimmel thinking, "Can I say this?" Just the soulless, soldier's soul.
Well, it's the same impulse as Zinn, isn't it? Throwing sand in the face, at the moment of crisis.
It is the evil. I mean, Colbert as well. I mean, it's like his whole family died in a plane crash or something, and he's meant to be a Christian. You think, like, is it really worth it? You know how fragile life is, Colbert, and you just devote it to shilling. Like, he started off as this reasonably funny parody of a Republican. Then he's become this disgusting vax-selling shill. And Kimmel has gone further than anyone I've ever seen with this. Did you see his little video about it? Unbelievably sick. Just pinning it on the right. Just literally a propagandist for terrorism. How do you go from a talk show host to that? You used to hang out with Adam Carolla and be like, oh, women are hot, aren't they? We're frat boys. And now it's like, hey, guess what? This guy didn't actually kill him. It's like, how do you go? I don't know. It's just so sick to me. Sorry.
No, when did that? Like, when was it? Like, already by this is 2016. We're looking at, like, already Colbert has just stopped doing comedy. It's not comedy anymore, right? Like, what the fuck is it?
Never was.
It stopped by then. Exactly. When he was doing comedy, it was when he had the parody character, and that's actually when he was reasonably good, because he was playing a character that said, like, it was based on Bill O'Reilly, wasn't it? Is that his name, or Bill Riley? I always get confused. The Fox guy. That's when it was reasonably good. Then it just became this Bill O'Reilly. Then it became
Bill O'Reilly. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, that's it really. I just was going to say the same again.
Bill O'Reilly is just a shock jock. He's not far to the right at all. He's like a centrist. He's just offensive. Like Rush Limbaugh is not very far right at all. It's just offensive, just rude.
Right. And he was a kind of parody of that Colbert, but then he became this just disgusting Route One. Do you remember the one where he says about CNN, well, you guys are objective journalists, and everyone laughs in the crowd? That's a great moment.
And like he did a song and dance where he's like dancing with needles to promote. Vaccines.
People have already mentioned in the comments. Vaccine,
it's almost unbelievable.
But Kimmel's gone beyond it. Kimmel's gone with that by saying that the killer is definitely on the right and MAGA, which is obviously zero evidence of. He's actually gone to a new level. That is so evil. It's hard to even comprehend, to be honest.
Should say I saw this film when I was way too young, and it haunted me for quite a while.
Yeah, just to say, he's using this in contrast to the film Stalker at the other end of hypernormalization. The idea in Stalker being that the people enter the zone and they become, again in that word, enervated, unable to take political action. But when they come home, the little girl has the telepsychic powers that can actually do things. So a metaphor for, with your imagination, you can try and actually change the world instead of being defeated by it in the way that people felt in the late Soviet Union. And this film, Carrie, obviously is the idea that he's contrasting with people like, the Brexit campaign and Nigel, the idea of the school loser who everybody mocked, who eventually turns out to have telekinetic powers and takes their revenge on society.
I feel like we're watching the stirrings of fascism in Europe again, and I genuinely never thought it would be my country that did that. I thought this would be America. I thought America was the people.
She's a reform supporter now, by the way.
That's from a video which was long nixed from the internet, but it's been rescued by a YouTube channel called Oliver Cromwell Did Nothing Wrong, and is titled "Emily Cries Over Brexit. Liberal Tears Never Tasted So Good," which I'll repost after the show.
I like that she says, I didn't think it would be Britain. I thought it'd be America where this happened. Like, she always expected fascism to come back.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not us taking on the shame, the disgrace, it's all right.
People who were so filled with hate and us, and I'm so disappointed. I'm so hurt.
Pause. Like, I quite fancy her. I don't. Am I the only one? I think she's quite hot. I don't know about now.
A wrong type, you mean?
She reminds me of John Cusack's sister.
Wow, that's a unusual call.
No, Joan Cusack. She's quite a famous actor, isn't she? Remember her from School of Rock?
There's another Cusack. There's Neve Cusack as well, isn't there? Neem or Neve.
She was an Irish actress, yeah.
Come on, she looked exactly like Joan Cusack. Come on, chat. Chat's with me.
I'm looking up Joan Cusack.
When I tried to find the video of Emily there, because it wasn't immediately obvious to find, I had to do a lot of reverse image searching on women's faces. With a snapshot of her in hypernormalization, and I couldn't find her immediately, but there were a lot of women who look like that now. Lots of problem glasses.
School of Rock era, 2003, Joan Cusack.
I can see.
I think Emily's just been surrounded.
There, Joan Cusack.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, either. I fancy them both, but like Emily,
I'm not fussy. Just put any woman on the screen.
It's a Horace Wood.
not just any woman.
She's dressed as a man, though. Horace.
That's what Horace likes.
It's the ambiguity.
He told me before
an
the
office. No, she's dressed as an office mistress. Wait.
She's a teacher in that film. That's what she actually is. She's the head teacher in that film.
Emily has spent all her time surrounded by ridiculously pathetic, effeminate men, and that's why she's in this distressed state, because everything's falling apart. Everything around her is dissolving and going wrong. And
I bet you Emily is
needs to meet. If I met her 10 minutes later, she wouldn't be crying. She'd be beginning to see my point, and 10 minutes after that, it's a go.
I was desperately looking for her last night to see if I could actually track her down to see where she was now, because I felt I needed to, explain her story.
Yeah, like make
Boris
the
knows
case
that
for
girl like Emily would go for a man with his views.
I suspect that just a cuddle will help. Like just give it, like will help a lot. I do just mean a cuddle.
A lot
will help. She would calm down. She'd feel a lot better if you just had a proper man to cuddle.
There you go.
Oh dear.
Z.
You must think my bed's a bus stop. The way you come and go, I ain't seen you with the light.
Masterful playing.
Yeah.
Why is Blair in now?
Blair with a maple neck Telecaster there. You don't see him. You normally see him with the Strat, the famous picture of him with the Stratocaster. There he is with a rare telly, channeling the boss, perhaps, Bruce Springsteen.
That was him visiting Hartlepool's Dyke House School, where my mother went, actually, back in 2001.
He could do it all effortlessly. No, we talked about we talked about wrestling. Do you remember there were the Mr. Perfect skits where he'd just like do basketball, he'd just get it in one every time.
Oh yeah, Kurt Hennig,
Blair is like that in real life. He can just do it all, whatever it is,
Mr. Perfect was one of the best wrestlers ever, wasn't he? Was this in Tony Blair's constituency or something? Why is he?
I think he was he Sedgefield in Durham, up in the northeast, but no, he was visiting Hartlepool for some reason here, and there's a.
That's further south.
Was this not like the song for Dunblane or something like that?
Oh.
Am I wrong?
Okay, that's an old reference, isn't it?
No. There's a BBC News story about it. I'll post it up. People can have a look.
Someone's saying, is that even a chord? It looks like he's going for C there. Guitar is my life. People don't know this. I've played for 30 years, and I used to read like obsessively guitar magazines. That's where that sudden thing came from. My sudden nerd out there. It looks like he's going maybe just done a C chord there. I'd say
that's just an ugly rumor. Bit of a Blair Deep Law joke there. His band was called Ugly Rumors.
Yeah. Someone says it here. That's actually not the worst ever name. Why is someone saying seriously, Nick, you fool? What's wrong with you? Are they intimidated by my many skills?
Your mastery.
Probably. A lot of people are jealous.
You shouldn't be playing guitar's a bit modern. That you should
another
be
thing,
like the lute.
Another thing, Mr. Perfect used to do when he came out, he'd be chewing a piece of gum, right, and then he'd arrogantly like throw the gum up and then hiss it with his towel into the crowd. I can see Blair doing that perfectly as well.
And this is peak Blair, pre-Iraq, by the way. This is him riding pretty high.
Yeah, 2001, another landslide.
Yeah.
So pack your rusty razor. Don't bother with goodbye.
Not as natural, not as gifted.
No.
Doesn't come naturally to Cameron. No swagger.
Is this like that's not like a new build estate, is it? That's somewhere nice.
Yeah,
right?
it was the G8 summit in 2013 at a place called Loch Earn. It's a kind of a golf resort in County Fermanagh. So it looks kind of fake, doesn't it? It looks like some 90s CGI mock-up of a town in the background, but it's actually real.
Do you know what? Cameron's tastes were more 80s, weren't they? Smiths, Phil Collins, Tony Blair is sort of synonymous with Britpop. Cameron could easily be a guest on one of AA's 80s tracks.
Are you saying that Cameron was a synth fan or something like that?
Well, he was a Smiths fan, and he's depicted as playing Phil Collins in some film, isn't he? I can't remember what that was. But he was definitely a Smiths fan, and he said there's that clip of him saying that Morrissey might be, when he finds out I like his music, heaven knows he might be miserable now or something like that. But yeah, it just suddenly occurred to me that Cameron's 80s music and Blair's 90s.
And then actual based Morrissey comes out and says, yeah, Cameron's a bit of a soft touch for me. Horrible gay Tory boy. Anyway, let's carry on.
Your cup runneth over.
I have to say, I still don't really understand the Carrie insertion.
Yeah.
What is being said again?
Revenge of the loser, basically. That was what it's alluding to. The idea that the fringe populist movements he referred to earlier, like he talked about the single issue thing like Brexit, which was kind of a crank thing, actually comes into focus and becomes.
So the Farage is Carrie.
Well, in a sense, yeah, it's an avatar for that, yeah.
But that's completely wrong, though, because if that's the case, because Carrie is the sort of archetypal Revenge of the Nerd type film, but it's the nerds who then later take over. That's like the Zuckerbergs; they take over.
No, we're already in the ending that Carrie has won, and the populists are like the jocks coming back as he saw. Yeah. I mean, how can anybody have this? Like, in no universe, left or right, is Hillary the babyface. She is just a pure villain, regime villain, regardless of your politics, isn't it?
That was her testifying at the Benghazi hearings in 2015, by the way.
She would be good in WWE as a kind of female manager figure, or like Vince's wife or something, wouldn't she? She'd be so good.
Well, she looks exactly like Linda McMahon.
Yeah.
Who's in the Trump admin, isn't she?
Yeah, weirdly.
What do you call this face? Like, what is she expressing with her face right there? What
resting
is that?
bitch face?
Yeah, it's resting. What, like, is it bitch? Like, it's like a bit smug, a bit
resting.
like
I will kill you all face.
Yeah,
it's like a bit haughty. It's a bit like disapproving. It's a bit like
it's another version of the Michael Corleone at the end of Godfather 2. You know, looking into the distant vistas of evil and bleakness
after having killed Fredo.
Yeah.
She looks like she thinks she's just born to rule the world. She's always looked like that. Like she's just the queen of the world naturally. Like it's fucking mad.
Do you think that Michael Moore regrets that tour he did trying to shill Hillary Clinton? The craziest things anybody's ever done.
There's also a deep boredom in this look, though. It's like, I've had to be wife of this twat for years just to get here. Do you know how many people he's shagged, and I've had to stick with in public? Like, it's also like a deep boredom and anger of like what she's had to do to get there.
No real love ever.
Look how dead the eyes are. Really, like it's like, yes, it's a power and an aggression, but there's also a deadness and a deep boredom and resentment.
In WWF, she just wouldn't be a character. She would just be like the cops or something, actually, like for real, shutting the show down. It's not part of the show.
She's still the actual government. Like, she just shuts it down.
Yeah, Nurse Ratched is a good call, actually.
Nick's perfect woman. How dare you? How dare you? Well, I mean, maybe younger. Younger, she's actually not bad, is she?
Stick a tie on her, a Horus might give her a look.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Stick a suit, a tie, and a briefcase, and Horus is a word.
Stick a wolf's head.
She just needs a cuddle.
No, fuck off. Emily had genuine femininity and vulnerability about her. That's why I fancied her.
No, but you also said Joan with a man's clothing in School of Rock is a wood.
No. All right. Yeah, because she's pretty. I don't care about the fucking girls in a suit and tie. It's not...
Jesus, Nick. But
see, the heels are falling out now. I've riven dissension in the ranks.
No. If we put up a young Hillary, you'd be able to find a perfectly attractive young Hillary. I'm sorry, that's just a fact.
Yeah, no, she was quite pretty, but she still had that repulsive hardness, like that sort of unfeminineness about her. Or, I don't know what it is, like that complete lack of humanity somehow. Or I don't know. She's human, but like the lack of yield in some way. Like, there's nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Principled Uncertainty says that's the first time Nick has offended me. Fair play.
She was kind of appealing when she was younger, Hillary. Much younger than this.
You could get with younger Hillary just for the power couple aspect.
Oh yeah, have you ever read like Rothbard on the progressive era, the late 19th?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, good book.
Have you heard him talking about the post-millennial pietists and all this versus the liturgicals, right?
Oh, yeah,
she's the epitome of a pietist, but in the wrong age. Like she should have been 100 years ago. But it's that like total self-assurance, like no question anyone else in the world.
She'd have been banning alcohol in 1920 or something.
All of that, like, and those hard-faced pictures of the temperance women and stuff. She's one of she is a Yankee. She's from that kind of town. It is true. Like she is of that background. but in an age where that has just gone by, like she's horrible.
Well,
I think
I'm
she's
glad- Yeah, go on, Nick. Yeah.
No, I was going to say something ridiculous. I was going to say she's actually AA's exact politics, sort of centre-left authoritarian.
go.
Blair got Dark Lord Blair elements. I think she's actually your dream woman.
No, too progressive. Too progressive. She's pro.
What about when she went on about the super predators? She used to be maybe 90s Hillary.
That was a bit Trumpian, wasn't it? That because they didn't, that was just to sell to the public the super predators line. The public liked it, sort of thing.
We're a couple of steps away from did you see Nancy Pelosi in 1964? She was a bit of all right, Come on, man.
Yeah. She was. She was a Catholic.
Yeah,
she was a sensible Catholic lit girl.
The ultimate one of before and after is that horrible neocon who's married to Kagan. What's his name? She's gone now, but she was
Anne
there
Applebaum.
No, not Applebaum.
Victoria Newland.
Newland. Young Victoria Newland was actually all right.
Yeah.
And then before she was driven by evil.
She looks like a literal demon.
Too.
Yeah, she's actually bursting out from the portrait.
Yeah.
She kind of looks like a cross between that and Slythe from Thundercats.
Outside my door.
Good.
Don't help me set the table, 'cause now there's one less place. I won't blame Mama Silver for a man who won't say grace. If home is where the
This is my right to free speech going on here, okay?
then your home's on the streets. Me, I'll read a good book, turn out the lights, and go to sleep. Standing room only. I can't stand no more. Standing room only. Outside my door.
Oh. Brady, you're on video. Say bye, Heather.
We finally made it, guys, to the end of Curtis's sprawling, epic, meandering masterpiece, hypernormalization.
Just want to explain those last couple of images, if I can. There was the clip of the people walking in the dark. That's from a Kanye West Wolves video, which we referred to all the way back in episode 1, which is another kind of these Curtis-type visual metaphors. It starts with these people being picked up like inanimate dolls, and they're all kind of walking in different directions in the dark. And it ends with them walking in straight lines in the same direction, as if in a dream. And Kanye's singing with a very heavily processed voice, "Lost my doubt." And he's talking about, you wish you could unfollow me, but we're surrounded by the fucking wolves, and you end with that other clip of the teenagers dancing where it kind of falls apart. And it's about, like she says, to the girl, have us, say hello, we all end up kind of performing on social media. So I think that's what he's rounding it off with as a thought.
Simon, at the start of hypernormalization, you said you suspected we might need more than one episode to cover it, and I doubted that, but you were right.
Yeah, he guessed it rightly. Actually, he said probably we'd need sort of 8 episodes or so. So,
what was this, episode 8 or 9?
8. This is episode 8.
We did it in 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to defend Nick, it wasn't Nick's fault.
No.
A lot of people claim that we would have done it in 4 had it not been for you, Nick. That's not true.
Well, I never paused, so I don't know how that can be true. Yeah, I talk a bit at the very start about football, but then when it starts, I say nothing and just wait for it to end. So how can that be?
It's like
Today-
a dentist appointment.
Today is the only time I've actually paused, almost ever. So can't be true. That's
I
just
think you'd
anti-Nick rhetoric, huh?
You actually made it go quicker. We actually would have taken longer without you.
It certainly would have felt quicker with the elan that I brought to it.
And there were only there was only one epic economic side rail with me and Horus, I think, in the second episode. So there weren't that many digressions, I don't think.
The longest digressions were you and Horus talking about economics, or you lot talking about the history of the Soviet Union.
Oh, well, when we paused it on Lenin's face for like an hour. I remember that, yeah.
That was
But this is the deepest lore. Those were the bits where we went deep into the lore, I think.
That's the whole point of the show.
That's true, actually. And when I talked about 90s football, that was deepest lore in a sense.
Nobody has learnt more about 90s football, composting, fucking 80s synth music, movies of various kinds, Soviet history. You know, we've given it to you all and more. What do you want? The moon on a stick?
Just to round it off on a slightly serious note, I just want to address when Horus had his anti-Curtis hatred meltdown the other week. You know, why is he doing this? What is he saying this for? It's very sweeping. I actually want to give a little
sentence again. Get it right.
A little bit of acknowledgement here, because in recent interview, Curtis has talked about how there's an interview here where he was talking about his admiration for the movie The Big Short. Quote, which tried to portray for a popular audience another facet of those invisible forces at work, you know, i.e. running the world. Quote, this is the whole thing about good and evil. It's a naive view of the world. The problem is bigger. It's a system. Curtis and I briefly discussed a word coined by the critic Timothy Morton to describe a problem so vast in space and time that you're unable to apprehend it. Quote, a hyper-object. Global warming is a classic example of a hyper-object. It's everywhere and nowhere, and it's too encompassing to think about. And so Curtis thinks that The Big Short was talking about this in a way that it's a problem that's bigger than just the financial system. It's just a component of something even bigger, the so-called hyper-object.
I don't know if have you guys all seen that film? I think it's a really good film.
Yeah, I've seen it about 6 times or something. 6 to 10 times, because there's not that many good films, and they're all woke, aren't they? So when you find a decent one, you have to just keep watching it.
Well, they still crowbar in some left-wing opinions into it, but just like a few sentences in the whole film that are not in the book, but it is overall, I mean, in spite of that, an excellent film. Yeah, I've watched it like loads of times. Yeah, it's really, really good and really rewatchable. Yeah.
Thank you to Kozanak 3000, by the way, who says hope to have Nick again on other streams. Thank you very much for the right price.
There's two things that we need to, before I hit the super chats here. Two things I need to mention or we need to talk about. The first is a message sent to me by Alexander Adams saying that when I mentioned that we did the Mr. D streams with about Francis Bacon, he was also on those streams.
Indeed.
He said you can redeem yourself by mentioning they have a book launch on Saturday at Old Speak Books in Suffolk. So there we go. If you,
I shall be going along to that. If you want to come down and say hello.
And I just want to thank Alexander for his book as well, which I don't think I did, and I will read it, and then we'll do the podcast. I just got to get around in my massive pile of books.
And then the other thing is what we're going to do now, Simon.
I think we should have a break. I think this has been a long haul. The next series is Can't Get You Out of My Head, which is quite a chunky piece, and then it's 7 hours of Russia in Trauma Zone.
And now, what we're going to do when we get to the Russians, I still don't know what we're going to do.
We might just cry. We might just sob gently.
We could just have, that would be a time to get Nick back on. We could me and Nick could just go through every 90s football club as Soviet footage goes in the background.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Earl Barrett. Earl Barrett, do you remember him?
Yeah, remember Graham Lasso? And it's just, exactly. Lenin. Yeah. That is niche content.
Yeah. So we've done every other Adam Curtis thing possible from before Can't Get You Out of My Head. Is that right?
There's one.
None of it was real.
Yeah, there's the Way of All Flesh about a woman called Henrietta Lacks who developed a very virulent cancer, the HeLa cells, which were then used for doing cancer research. So it's a very depressing story about a black lady in the 1950s who caught a very nasty cancer and died. We haven't done that one. I'm just not sure how much of a party experience that would be.
There's like one mouldy Brussels sprout that we've left on the plate, isn't there, Simon? We've turned over every other last morsel of Curtis.
We have. We've done pretty well.
So
yeah.
Can't get you out of my head. The recent one we haven't done. The recent one as well.
The Shifty,
Shifty, yeah.
I watched that. I'm proud and pleased that we did the Selfridges and the Western Supermare and all this.
Yeah.
Like, they was good ones.
They were good little series. Just one last little note, actually, just out of interest. He ends this hypernormalization here with that song "Dream Baby Dream," which we saw in the disaster movie montage, but it's a version by his friend Robert Del Nair, who's the guy from Massive Attack. And one of the things that's been troubling to me doing these streams is you try to track down all the bits of music he's using, and some of them you can't use. And apparently Curtis says in an interview that he works with Robert Del Nair to do little bits of kind of fake music. So he says he'll go to them and say, I'll ask them for a bit of music that sounds like John Carpenter mixed with, for example, the Dead Kennedys. And I've got a whole load of files that I use quite a lot. So this is answered why I couldn't necessarily track down all the bits of music, because some of them are not actually released. But they're the bits and pieces he makes up with Massive Attack.
All right. Well, okay. So we may take a break next week or next couple of weeks, and then we'll come back with "Can't Get You Out of My Head." And I'll have to have backstage talks with Nick to see where he is.
Actually, sorry, go on.
I'll see if I can, send him a pack of Monster Munch or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of like not even off the telly anymore, except as we speak, I've just been offered to go back on GB tonight. And I often can't do it, but tonight I can't really think of a reasonable excuse other than I'm tired and I have a headache, but that's not really genuine. So, well, I mean, it's genuine, but it's not enough, is it? So I'm going to have to do it. So I am still TV's Nick Dixon for now. So you do have to still give me the Monster Munch.
All right. So just a few super chats. Ausman Bismarck Man says Australians are the superior Anglo. So he's like some sort of Australian supremacist. Dan Qua 111 Far 1 says that is BS. That Zim guy was aware. That's no way, he says. $11 Cheese says, AA, it's hard to picture you having the patience to compost, just sitting around waiting for organic material to decompose. Well, that's what all this is about. I don't have the patience. I want the compost done in 2 months or 3 months, what would usually take about 2 years. That's why I've got the hot bin and the shredder and all the rest of it. And the cabbages. I want to speed it up. I want it to be done in 2 months.
Then you can say you can't even compost. Sorry, it just came to me. Just that the guy had not understood the whole, don't you understand what I'm doing?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. MF Corp says, what do you think the effects of AI and robotics will be on mass immigration as these checks are increasingly adopted, reducing the need for cheap labor, AA? Yeah, well, this is one of the things I don't understand. And whenever Tony Blair or other people or Bill Gates or Larry Ellison are asked these questions, they just don't have an answer. So I don't really know. It seems to me that a lot of people are going to be put out of work fairly soon. And we're already seeing it creeping in all over the place, aren't we? Chris Primer says, just look at what happened after the LA fire. All those homes will be turned into mega apartments owned by corporations who are owned by BlackRock. Yeah, they do a lot of that. Chris Primer also says, don't know if it means much, but a guy I follow said his TDS neighbor in California took down their anti-Trump sign after Charlie. That's interesting. That's interesting indeed. Coney says, on the subject of the futility of online activism, I would remind the panel of my Coney 2012 movement I based on my pseudonym. An excellent video. That I based my pseudonym on. An excellent video of that song. What's so funny?
Sorry, the way you read it out implied that it was actually Joseph Coney, that he started the Coney 2012 movement based on his online pseudonym, which was Coney.
Right, sorry, I misread it. He based his pseudonym on Coney 2012 movement. Okay. Right. An excellent video of that saga was done by Internet Historian. He also says, never trust a guy named Seth. But what about people with double-barreled surnames? Double-barreled surnames. I don't know if there's any hard and fast rule on that. I can't think of any.
Well, the problem with a double-barrel surname is it used to just mean an aristocrat, but now it means a mixed-race footballer. So it changed, didn't it?
Sean Wright Phillips, as an example.
Yeah, exactly.
Principled Uncertainty says, do not spend this on compost. Well, I won't spend it on compost because I'm making my own. So,
spend it on a compost machine. Sorry, go
EF says, spend this on compost. Well, I'll spend that £5 on buying cabbages for the compost. How about that? Dan 4Quar111 says, the Big Short is good, but it's the perfect analog to Curtis. Misses the crucial point. The white stripper wasn't the symbol of that crisis. Broman Hank says, a brief Simon heel turn, Horus face turn, Nick using up all his pauses. Only AA remains consistent. Arc heel. Cheers to the last episode, lads.
What was Simon's heel turn there?
Well, when I think the idea was that you two were babyface during that whole bit on Trump, and that Simon was the heel.
And I sort of broke you apart at the end and turned on you. So
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. There's often a way when teams fall apart, heel teams, they turn on each other, like when Rick the Model Martel turned on Tito Santana when Strike Force fell apart. We're getting into obscura now. Sorry. Cameron Kirby says,
only now.
Well, that's when he became Rick the Model Martel, and Tito Santana went on to become El Matador after that moment.
Rick the Model Martel was mainstream. I had the figure of him, I think.
But they were a tag team called Strike Force.
Right.
And in fact, poor old Tito Santana, about a year after Strike Force had split up, was still like in the Strike Force pants and stuff. It's like he only got El Matador like 2 years later or something. And I always find that, like, I'm really into that when like the gimmick has died, but the guy is still like hanging around on the push from 2 years ago and things like that. It's one of my favorite things, as well as post-peak acts fading, playing like dwindling crowds. I love that as well. So Cameron Kirby says, I want an ASMR series of AA gardening.
Oh yeah.
Well, I did make the little video, didn't I? Of me.
It's very calming. Very
this here. Where was it? This, yeah. Here we are. You see this, Nick?
I did see it. I don't know what I thought, really.
Very nice.
I thought you could work maybe on your sort of trad country garb.
Well, I was channeling, in my own mind, in the 90s, bands like Ocean Colour Scene and James would wear this sort of get-up where they'd have a coat on and a pair of long shorts like that. But
it's a little bit frat boy. I mean, the guy from Ocean Colour Scene came out on a little clip recently, didn't he, doing a song. I couldn't believe how old he looked, because Oasis looked basically the same, but he looked just like, everyone was saying he looked like who's the Jim Davison. Everyone said he looked just like Jim Davison, and he did. Whereas Oasis looked the same. I was like, how is this possible? But one reason is Ocean Colour Scene were quite old already when they came out.
Were they?
Yeah, more than you think. They'd already been knocking around a little longer than you think. Have I talked about this before? I'm having like deja vu that I've already talked about this. That would be shocking if so, but very possible.
Were you guys referring to James, the guy from James, tweeting the other day about sit down being used at the rally? At the United Kingdom thing?
Didn't notice that, no.
The guy, I can't remember his name, but I replied. The guy from James said that sit down was being used by Tommy Robinson, and he was annoyed by it.
Tim thingy from James.
Yes, that guy.
All right, okay, I can see.
But he worded it. The way he worded it, it sounded like it was Tommy Robinson's song. He put "Sit Down" by Tommy Robinson. Yeah, Tim Booth. Yeah.
I will just show you what Ocean Colour Scene dude looks like now. He looks like this. There we are. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, there was a different one where he just looked exactly like Jim Davis, but even that one looks fairly Jim Davis.
He looks quite a lot like Boone, if you remember that show. Remember that?
Yeah.
Michael Elphick.
But there's a different one.
He's talking about obscure references, Simon. Boone. Bloody hell.
I remember Boone.
we'll get to the point where we're talking about things so obscure that there's like 2 people left. You know, I remember Boone too.
Boone is categorized in my mind vaguely with Bergerac. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Did he have like a mate called Rocky? Am I remembering this correctly? Rocky, was it Boone's mate Rocky? Is that right?
I never watched any Boones. It's that kind of weird, but you just know it's there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he did. Look, Rocky was Neil Morrissey, and he looked like this. Rocky was literally him.
Yeah, okay.
I think I'm right. So Boone was 1986, and when was Bergerac? Because I think I'm right to categorize them. 1981. Okay, I think I'm right to kind of broadly categorize.
But they reran things as well. Don't forget.
Bergerac was shown later, though. I remember that being on TV in the 90s as well. But Nick, do you? I trust you're an appreciator of Know Me Knowing You with Alan Partridge, right?
Of course.
There's a funny Bergerac reference in that. I don't know if you remember. Actually, I think it might even be the radio version of Know Me Knowing You.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna.
I can't believe this. Looking this up now, Bergerac is back, Nick.
Really?
There's a 2025 Bergerac, and it looks exactly as you'd imagine. It's got like people in it that are in everything.
He looks like Jim Davison now.
Let me show you.
There you go.
This actress is in all productions. That actress there on the left, was she in like Paddington or something? But she's in everything.
Zoe Wanamaker.
She's in everything.
Hang on, you telling me this woke guy at the front is now Bergerac?
This is Bergerac.
Is it Robert Lannister on the right there?
It's not actually that woke looking, to be honest.
But at least it's not Idris Elba or something.
It's pretty white.
But the guy next to him is one that looks more like Bergerac. So who's this guy at the front?
I think. Yeah.
Are they going to be making a point? Is it set in the? Is it the Channel Islands? This is set?
It's a reboot.
Jersey.
So are they making a point about the whiteness of the Channel Islands and how it needs to? But it hasn't had diversity yet. There you go.
Yeah, no, the guy on the right is playing a character called Wakefield. This is Bergerac in the front.
That ginger can't be Bergerac.
He's Bergerac.
That is absurd. It's not. He's not. Bergerac was a much slicker type than that, and much more Bond-esque. That's ludicrous.
So there we are. There we are, guys. All right. Cheers, everyone. We're going to take a brief break, and when we'll be back at some point with "Can't Get You Out of My Head." Well-deserved rest for the squad here, who've had a lot of 90 minutes plus, 3 hours plus, to be honest.
And I've been doing it with my other podcast straight after, although yesterday I did that podcast, so I didn't have to do that. But can I quickly plug something before we go?
Please do.
I just wanted to say, people, we talked about the Charlie Kirk thing a lot. I've done 2 whole episodes on it, one with my friend Simon Evans and one with the Reverend Dr. Jamie Franklin, which is interesting from a Christian perspective. And if anyone is still struggling to process it, anyone who's more on the INFJ scale, more of a feeling person, I think check those out. And I also did my usual podcast yesterday with Paul Cox. But check those out. I put them out completely for free. 2 podcasts.
Did you ever review that thing you were going to review with Simon? I've been meaning to catch up. But
what was that?
You were planning on like watching a documentary or something like that to get like an interview. Was it like a Tucker or something like that?
We've done loads of them, but then this Charlie thing, I didn't know what to do, and then Simon wasn't always around, and I wasn't always. So we've had a break from it. But we've done loads of them, and we think about doing John Gray next or Steve Bannon. Yeah. We always do different obscure interviews. We've just been doing loads of Dominic Cummings ones, but we did Frost Enoch Powell, but that got taken down. That could be the one you mean.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Joe. Maybe it was coming. I can't remember exactly where it was now. All right. Thank you very much. Simon, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Simon__Roberts, and you can find me at the Old Speak Bookshop on Saturday with Alexander Adams at the launch of his new book. So do come down, and I'm probably going to spend the rest of the weekend wandering around the Suffolk beaches near Felixstowe, Mark Fisher style. So have a look for me there.
Horace?
Sorry, I was just thinking about Emily. I'm at Infinite Horace on Twitter, and you can find my Substack from there, where there should be something new up by the next show.
Yeah, and I'll just remind people do buy courses at the Academic Agency. Buy it now and all the other great things, but most importantly of all, friends, get out.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Well, that's easily fixed.